drone to get his camera angle how he wants it, and then we'll start this shindig. Okay.
It's fine. Go ahead. It was just bugging me because
It's fine. Okay.
It's like too high.
Let's get it going. We're gonna be live in 3.
Yeah, Phoenix, I am going to bring that up.
Okay. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Oh my goodness, we have a show for you today. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the recent arrest of Wisconsin Judge Dugan, who was allegedly helping an illegal immigrant to evade ICE, right? This brings up larger questions. Was Dugan's arrest valid? Is the judiciary currently improperly doing their jobs to stymie Trump and his administration? Are we in a judicial coup? Is Trump being authoritarian when he goes in and arrests not just Dugan, but other judges? At least one other one has been apprehended for alleged crimes. We're going to talk about it all. We're going to discuss it. It'll be a fun topic. We're going to give the first mic to Jonah. Jonah, start us off. Take us away. Tell us what you got. Go ahead.
Yeah. On the actual legal ground itself, there's a lot of conflicting legal opinions whether or not she actually did the crime that they say she did. The only real testimony we have is from the government, who has every incentive to overemphasize her sort of illegal motivations. Even outside of that, though, I think Soy and I will talk about the really catastrophic consequences of both politicizing and arresting people in the judiciary, because it just has far-reaching consequences that go far beyond this case.
Okay, we'll get into it, I'm sure. Thank you for being here. Next up, first-time guest on my show, Drone Tech. Welcome. Tell people who you are, what you do, and what your thoughts are. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Drone Tech. My real name's Ryan Stutz, and I've been on YouTube for about full-time, like as a job, for about 7 years now, just doing videos about the media and how they tend to deceive people. And yeah, as far as the and you can find me at YouTube and X.
So I didn't look too much into this guy, but he has some interesting opinions if you go watch his shorts, and it seems a little bit like brain rot conspiracy brain, but we'll see.
Concealing a person from arrest, it fits the bill pretty well, and we can go over that. But I think first and foremost, or above all, no one is above the law. And we heard that for years from Democrats in the media, robotically repeated every day for years. And I don't see why that standard would change now just because it's a judge. So, yeah, I look forward to talking about that.
We'll get into it as we go. Really appreciate you being here, sir. Next up, no stranger to my channel, Soy Pill.
Hey,
go ahead.
I'll try to read this fast. Yeah, in regards to the Dugan case, I think there's a lot of gray area as to whether or not they can prove mens rea. She did expedite the case. She led the defendant out of a jury door, but we're not 100% sure what her intent was. And her frustration could be due to the fact that they were interrupting 1 of 8 of her cases that day. I think this is a bigger problem for both people who oppose ICE and their actions, but also people who support ICE. I think that by showing up to court hearings, they're disincentivizing illegal and even legal immigrants from participating in the legal process. My second issue is that this arrest is clearly a scare tactic. It's meant to intimidate not just the judges who may be indeed violating a law, but any other who might go against Trump's immigration policy, including Paula Zenas in the Kilmar Abrego case. I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that Dugan had tried to obstruct justice. There have been a few other judges recently who have done, I think, a lot more clear obstruction. But my opponents need to prove, 1, intent, and also, more importantly, they have to contend with the fact that the arresting people in courtrooms is going to make problems harder with illegal crime, which I think is the main contention with the right on illegal immigration. But overall, in the context of Trump's erosion of checks and balances, it's just another move to consolidate loyalty and power and weaken judicial pushback. So that's my case.
Okay, we'll get into it as we go. Thank you for being here, sir. Last but certainly not least, Deej. Go ahead.
Hey, yep. Deej, you can see me on YouTube, Twitter, Yeah, I think that just generally there's enough, at least meat to the Dugan case to bring charges. Whether those charges will stick, ultimately, the jury is a jury. Ultimately, I think that there may be some common ground that we can find on, like maybe the tactics that are being employed. But I'm probably going to disagree hard on the idea that this is some broader constitutional crisis or that Trump is really like challenging checks and balances. I mean, the only cases that have been brought forward of judges being arrested seems like there's at least enough probable cause to justify the arrest being made. Whether you think that that is a scare tactic or not, uh, ultimately, I think we'll end up coming down to opinions and personal political biases.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and I guess we'll get into it. We'll start with this. You mentioned, Deej, in your opening statement there, that you don't think that that Trump is challenging the checks and balances, that he's not putting forth that challenge. Is that a view that the rest of you hold, that you don't think Trump is pushing the limits or pushing the boundaries or anything like that?
If I can
On this-
clarify,
Oh,
I don't
clarify,
think
go ahead.
I think that he is pushing like limits of what is possible, but I wouldn't put that to a degree of like he's outright creating a like completely violating the courts.
I guess my
What do we
question
think?
would
Do
be,
we-
what would he have to do to completely violate the courts that would show you that he is completely violating the courts? Because I would say this specific case wouldn't be a complete violation, but I think it's a in context of what he's doing with defying the Supreme Court order, pushing back on Judge Zena's arresting these other judges, and kind of broadcasting this as a, hey, if you defy us, we'll go after you. As you can see from the tweets from Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and him himself, that seems to be part of a greater narrative of, hey, judicial branch, if you try to check our power, we will come after you, regardless of whether or not that is a justified coming after or not. So my question is, what would he have to do to show you that he is indeed pushing that check and balance to a place that you wouldn't be okay with?
Yeah, so I would say what I would have to see to be convinced would be a direct violation of the letter of the law on court orders, or a arrest of judges without a probable cause. Like, for instance, the instances we have of judges being arrested, there seems to be a clear like legal justification for charges to be brought. If he, for instance, the Texas judge that barred him using the INA, if he were to arrest that judge and provide no evidence other than just like some flimsy obstruction charges, 100%, I will personally fly down and protest outside of the courthouse with you, Soy Pill, if you
Okay,
want.
well,
Yeah,
what about
can
going
I just
against...
chime in real quick?
go
Say,
ahead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead,
just real
please.
quick. I agree with that 100%. And I was even, I was supposed to be on another one of these streams, but Wick found out that I was actually for, people getting their due process as far as that MS-13 guy, the, I forget where he's from, the
Garcia, I forget
Salvador.
his name.
yeah, I forget his name, but then it turns out that he actually does. Like, he probably most likely is an MS-13 gang member, and I still don't agree with him going to prison necessarily. But I feel like he got all the due process that he should have, and so I feel like a lot of it is exaggeration that we're hearing right now. And if he were to start just like arresting judges for no reason, the judges he arrested, it was one, they had probable cause, and the other guy, he was a former judge. He's not a current judge. And there's plenty of probable cause there.
Yeah,
So
if you want to talk
I don't
about
see any
Kano,
reason to see
that's-
that this is like a pattern.
Well, I do want to, like, before we get into it, because I don't want to get too deep into the Kano or there was another judge that was arrested, I forgot the name. But I think those cases were a little, like I said in my opening, a little more clear, where he was harboring asylum seekers and letting them use his firearms at a shooting range, which is like very irresponsible. I think what you're seeing here, at least in this specific case, is that the precedent for how you go after a judge for any sort of misconduct and obstruction is not to just immediately arrest them on very vague legal evidence of, well, it seems like this person obstructed based on this one person describing the incident to us, but more of a, hey, let's do a criminal process and investigation. And what they did was they have a warrant for her arrest that are usually reserved for things like someone who is an ongoing danger to the public, or someone who is in the middle of committing a crime, not someone who did something at a point that you can go through and have a complaint, go through like the bar association, go through the chief judge. This seems like a deviation from precedent of, hey, there's a way to deal with complaints versus I'm going to arrest this person immediately. And that is why I think it's not just, hey, they had probable cause. Because if you look at this, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out this person did obstruct justice. I will find out in the court. The difference is they really do have to prove it. It's a little gray as to whether or not she did. And they arrested her anyway with a immediate kind of criminal injunction. I think that's the issue here.
Yeah, I would say that maybe unprecedented, but at the same time, right? Like to a certain extent, like when you openly defy a federal agency and then the federal agency makes a public showing of coming after you for legal reasons.
Well, hold on. When you say
it-
openly defy, again, that has not been proven yet, right? Like that is
Yeah,
what remains to be proven. It, like I said, when I first read this case, I understand people seeing this and it's like, okay, she was really mad. She let him out a door that may or may not have been a usual thing, and she tried to lead agents away. That could point to her trying to obstruct justice. I'm not denying that that is possible. What I'm saying is, you're saying she obviously did. We don't actually know that for sure. We have to know for sure. They have to prove that in the court, and it's the current evidence as to whether or not she did is someone testified or someone has a accusation that she did. It's a gray area. So to arrest someone on that gray area is kind of that what we're talking about is like, this is
it resulted in a foot chase, right, between the police and the.
So just in case I get my facts wrong, this is my understanding of it, and Jonah and I review this. So Jonah, please correct me if I'm wrong. She did lead him out. Okay, the 6 agents showed up. One of them was in plain clothes and in a mask and was not identified by her or the court security officer. I forgot what the name is. Not the bailiff, but regardless, it doesn't matter. She said, go talk to the chief judge after she came out. And she was frustrated because whether or not it was because she's an activist judge who wants to defend every illegal immigrant, or for the fact that by coming into this courthouse and interrupting her court proceedings, one, she has 8 other cases, I think all immigration cases, which are now going to be, completely fucked because if any of those witnesses are now intimidated by ICE, if any of them are legal citizens who have family that are illegal, they're not going to show up and testify. This completely disrupted her whole day. So whether or not her frustration was activism or because justifiably you just fucked with my entire docket for the whole day, we don't know. Then she said, go talk to the chief judge, which 5 of them went to go do that. The one who did not do that, it was sitting like a little bit away from this group. So he may or may not have been identified by her. So maybe she thought all the agents were gone. If the theory that she's trying to obstruct is true, that might make sense. Because then she said, hey, let's expedite this person's case, lead him out this door. And that door led to an elevator that led to the public hallway in which they were allowed to arrest him, because they're not allowed to arrest him on private grounds using this administrative warrant. So if this leads back to the place where all of these agents are, maybe if we can prove that she thought that those agents were gone, she was trying to get him away. Now, whether or not him fleeing, because he did flee on a foot chase and they had to catch him, was her intent for him to flee away, we do not know. Now, he definitely wanted to flee. That could have been panic. That could have been premeditated by her telling him to flee, but we don't know that. So it looks bad for sure, but it's gray. And you can't just arrest a judge. I mean, you can, don't get me wrong, they did it, but it's not precedented to arrest a judge based on a complaint, a gray area complaint that happened in the past that's not ongoing. And then, yeah, that's the thing we're having a problem with, right?
I would say real quick, because I kind of agree with you on that. And I think that they did try to make a spectacle of it. Clearly, that's something that the Trump administration wants to do a lot of.
Okay.
But I would also say that Democrats, once again, they set that standard, or the Biden administration did, with these these huge spectacle arrests of people around Trump and down to just like his supporters, right? Where, excuse me, they were hunting down like terrorists, people who were just on Capitol grounds and didn't do anything violent. And then you had Biden going out there and bragging about how many people he put in prison. And so
are you talking about the January 6th people?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
January 6th, I'm sorry, yeah. Biden gave a speech and he bragged about how much prison time all these people had gotten. So, like, Democrats set that standard. I get that you don't like it now, but Trump is clearly taking advantage.
The standard is not making arrests. The standard is arresting a judge performing her official duties. It's not arresting anyone.
Well, right, but
on spurious
she
claims.
wasn't.
I think every January 6th.
Oh, hey, hold on. You're all talking over each other.
Yeah,
and it's
sorry.
hard to hear.
No, that's my
hard
fault.
to
Go ahead.
understand. Let Drone finish.
accusation
Let
says she
Drone
wasn't.
finish, and then we'll you guys can respond. Go ahead, Drone.
No, I'm just saying the accusation is that she wasn't. She wasn't carrying out her official duties.
Right.
So
the
she led a
accusation
violent.
was, but the January 6th
Allegedly,
arrests
she
were
led a
not
violent
alleged.
man.
They were, hey, we have
Allegedly,
you on
she
camera
led a violent man who
interrupting
had assaulted two
a
other
official.
people pretty badly out into the street.
Sure. What I'm saying is you're comparing this to January 6th arrest, where it's not at all a
I'm
allegation.
not
This is a, dead to rights. We have you interrupting an official procedure by the government. And that's not a precedent set by the Democrats. Now, if you could point me, and this might be true, I don't know. If you could point me to the Democrats arresting someone on very, very spurious evidence and not going through an official proceeding to make a show of force, that might be the case. I have not seen that. I don't think that precedent exists so far as I know.
Well, Trump may have escalated things. That Trump does seem to have that pattern of where he'll take what they did and just escalate it up a little bit. But I wasn't necessarily comparing the events to January 6th, although they were both sort of obstruction. A lot of people got charged with that. But you say the Democrats didn't set that precedent, but Democrats regularly took over federal buildings and stuff that's going on in Congress,
completely
votes,
different things.
and they weren't arrested. They weren't hunted down like terrorists.
Yeah,
they weren't even charged.
These are completely different things.
They're not.
I'm
talking about the violent people. I'm talking about
arresting
the 1,000 or so peaceful people.
Yeah. So okay,
that got arrested and charged.
I agree.
Well, I want to hear what Jonah has to say real
go ahead,
quick,
Jonah.
right? So just I want to give Jonah the mic here. Go ahead, Jonah.
I think there's a couple things that I think you're trying to do. One, I think you're it's the case that the case is at best a gray area, and so you're trying to just do the whataboutism of but Democrats did the same thing. There's a lot of reasons why it's not the same. Number one, it's not a judge, so there's not a chilling effect to every other judge.
One is above the law.
Instead, I'm not done, and there's not other judges that are now going to be thinking, well, if I don't agree with what the Trump administration wants me to do, am I going to get arrested this next time? So that doesn't happen with the January 6ers. At the worst case, it's, if I break into the Capitol, I'll probably get arrested. I think that's probably fine. And then also there's just a lot of things that you're not contending with about why this case is not as solid as you might think it is, because I mean, maybe you guys just didn't look into these things. They had an administrative warrant, not a judicial warrant. They didn't. They can't prove like mens rea, the actual corrupt intent to harbor someone, because to do that you need to actually be sheltering them. She let them into a public hallway. There's just a lot of reasons why this is not a clear-cut case. And then I think even if it is, you're not justifying why arresting this one person, even if it is a clear-cut case, is not still damaging to the entire justice system.
So if I can loop back slightly, because what started kind of that conversation was me saying that judges openly defying Trump. And I feel like Soypill, you very much downplayed the actions of Judge Dugan during that day. It wasn't that she just came out and had a conversation with ICE, and also ICE at no point attempted to enter the courtroom, because you're correct. With their administrative warrant, they couldn't have arrested him inside the courtroom. They were following proper procedure, which is to wait in the hallway in the public area. And they never announced themselves to the judge, right? It was someone informing the judge that, hey, ICE is outside. Mm-hmm. She at no point needed to go out and confront them, because they were not attempting to try and get into her courtroom or mess with the proceeding. Okay. Nobody claims that they were. And when she came out, she was screaming and livid at the ICE agents. This wasn't just, she came out and had a conversation and politely told them to go talk to
let him finish, please.
Do you think they can mess with the proceeding without physically entering the courtroom?
Yeah, a protest outside the courthouse can mess with the proceeding.
But do you understand why a protest from just random citizens and ICE agents coming into the courtroom or not the courtroom, but right outside would be different? Do you get why that's...
Well, if they weren't announced, nobody would have known that they were out there.
They were identifiable ICE agents. They had their badges.
Some of them were plainclothes.
Yes, but nobody knew that the ICE agents were out there until someone told the judge, and the judge announced it.
Except everyone walking around waiting for their hearing, right? And then the people that go in the bathroom break and come back in, and literally everyone else, right? So it's only just the people that stay in there the entire time who don't know that, and then that spreads quickly, right? And so everyone else for the rest of the day would know that ICE agents are in the building and waiting to arrest someone, and that someone could be them. They don't know who they're there to arrest. right?
Is
So
it
disrupts the
is
whole
it
day's activity.
against the law or against ICE procedure to do what ICE was doing? Was ICE violating any law or
That's
due
irrelevant
process
to our
by being
argument. The
there?
point is that it completely disrupts the entire court proceeding, and her anger is completely justified because whether or not, again, if she was angry because they're going to arrest her client, or not her client, the defendant, or they're going to completely fuck over her entire docket of immigration cases by intimidating both defendants, witnesses, prosecutors, like whoever who may or may not be, associated with some way with an illegal immigrant, that's a justifiable reason to get angry and to say that this is like, oh, she didn't need to do this. Yeah, she didn't need to, but this is like a very much a disruptive procedure that many people have argued against. And to be fair, I understand why they do this in courtrooms. It's because, they have to go through metal detectors. There's less likely, they know exactly where they're going to be, when they're going to be there, and like they're not going to have weapons, right? But the problem is now what you're doing by doing this, and this is probably at least to some degree why she was angry, is that you're disincentivizing any illegal immigrant, including the one in this case, from showing up to their court hearing, and then any other witnesses from testifying against whether that's illegal immigrants fighting against them or prosecuting. What am I saying? Like doing violence against them, or from
they're
people,
victims,
being victims of crime from a legal immigrant who might be being exploited at a workplace. So this precedent of going in there is the bigger problem. But again, we're jumping around too from whether or not the judge can definitely be proven to have done this, which I think, again, like Jonah laid out, is very gray. But even if she did, the problem is also how ICE conducted themselves.
Okay, I don't think it's that great, first of all, like he said, and like she showed intent with the anger towards the ICE agents, and she's a judge. Like, why is she getting angry about this? Like, and you even said her client, because she's acting like the client, like his representation or something.
That was just a misspeak. That's because I forgot to say defendant.
But that's how she's acting, though, correct?
Well,
but
again, you're
what we're saying is that there's.
What
we're saying is that
you're stepping on each other, gang. Pick one.
Yeah.
Right.
We're saying there are other reasonable justifications for her being upset, which is why it's a gray area. Just because you can pick one of the reasons that she's upset and apply it to what narrative you want to fit doesn't mean that that's the one that was true.
Okay, well, she's upset about the due process, I guess. I don't know, but that you guys were attacking the administrative warrant, and she kind of did too, if I remember. I could be wrong, but and I could be wrong about this too. But isn't a judge's warrant pretty much the same thing, except for it comes with probable cause, and so you can go to private residence and all that? I mean, essentially, they had probable cause. That guy had been deported already, and then came back, and then committed more crimes.
So they should have got a judicial warrant, which is what she said when she confronted them.
But they didn't need a judicial warrant to arrest him in the public hallways.
Again, we're not
I'm
saying
just saying
what they
that
did was illegal. We're saying what they did sets a bad
precedent. She sent him to the public hallway.
And I think I haven't heard you contend with this, either of you, that, hey, this is disrupting her entire docket of cases all day, and that's a completely justifiable reason to get angry. And you say, obviously, her intent was, like I said, if you paint the picture of she was trying to harbor and let this guy escape, and it turns out that they investigate this and that was her intent, I won't be surprised. The problem is you can't prove that now. We don't know 100%. And the fact that we are arresting her based on that allegation rather than, hey, we think you might have done this. And my understanding is the precedent is not to just arrest this person out of nowhere. It's to go through formal complaint systems, to do a criminal investigation, or even to go through legal means and go through the bar association and say, hey, this person is committing a dereliction of duty. But none of that was done. They wanted to expedite and arrest this person because, like you said and conceded to, this is a show of force to say, hey, judges, don't defy us.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Hold on,
I don't agree with that. And all right, I'm sorry. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do agree with that it's wrong just to kind of charge and then go to court. Where you're off base here a little bit is that there's no precedent for that. That happens to everyday people all the time, every day. Cops will I see it all the time in a certain sector, First Amendment on stuff like that. I don't know if you guys know anything about it, but people will get arrested all the time for obstruction and all this stuff when there was no investigation. Nobody even alleged it, but the cop got his feelings hurt or something, and they'll just put you through the court system, and that's the punishment. So I feel like that's sort of what's happening here, and I don't agree with it, but it's not. I mean, it's nothing new. It's just happening to a judge now.
There are different standards for judges and people for a reason, right?
Yeah, there's different standards, and also if your defense of this is like, hey, cops are already doing bad things, okay?
I'm just, as far as a precedent goes, I'm saying.
Sure.
So-
Well,
Again,
but there isn't the precedent of judges get, like, even if that precedent exists for like police arresting random people, which again, yes, is bad. It's like extra bad when it happens to judges, because they're the ones that decide if people go to prison or not, and we don't want them like deciding against
Let me let me
what
ask
they
this.
believe in a Trump case.
I think
because
as long as you don't break the law, you're probably okay. But she might have.
Well, I don't know about that. Remind me sometime to tell you the story about how the cops stole my mom's laptop right after Christmas, or right before Christmas. But that's a different story. But cops do crazy shit all the time. I guess maybe I can try to like cross this bridge or build a bridge or maybe get us somewhere by asking this question. And this is to Deej and to Drone Tech, I think. Do you think that it is wrong, bad, irresponsible, whatever word you want to use, for Trump to have made this into a spectacle? Regardless of whether it's happened before, whether there's president, do you think that it's a problem?
Yeah,
that the Trump
I don't agree with
administration
it.
has done?
enter.
Yeah, I don't agree with that because it's just escalating things. We're just continuing to escalate on both sides. Now, once the Democrats get back in, you can expect them to go even further, is my guess. And so, yeah, I don't agree with it. But I understand that it's coming from Trump just didn't come out of nowhere and do that. You got to look at the previous 4 years and all the insanity that the Democrat. It's not whataboutism to hold Democrats and the people that supported what they did to the standard that they set.
But like, can you
As
draw
long as
this
they're
equivalency? Like, can you show me?
Yeah.
Like I
It's
said, if
never
you can
going to
show
be
me-
equivalent. That's
Well, that's
I'm sorry.
the
I'm not. I
problem,
don't mean to
man. Like-
generalize, but you guys always like carve out exceptions, so it's different when you do it. Always.
Well,
Why is that? Why is that a
Again,
meme? Why does that
it
exist
won't
as a
be
meme?
If you can show me a case where the Democrats arrested a judge in an expedited process that's unprecedented for
Right.
defying.
I agree that it's I agree that as far as a judge go, it's not. I don't think it's happened. Trump
so I
did
don't think
have
they're the same.
another judge arrested in 2019, I believe, for a similar thing, but the judge let illegal immigrant go to his locker to get something, and then he fled, and they charged her, and it was dropped. But
Jerome,
it
can I
seems
ask
a
you a
lot different
follow-up?
to me.
Can I ask you a follow-up? What do you think their intent was? Even if you think it's a show of force, do you think that from the beginning they had the intent to make this a show of force?
Well, yeah, because the country, a big part of why Trump was elected was because of illegal immigration. The country's tired of it, and the message is we're not going to sit by while judges use our system to make sure that these illegal states. Something I'm not sure about, I didn't get a chance to look into. Barack Obama deported, more than Trump. Well, did Obama run into all this when he was deporting people? I honestly don't know.
I could speak to that. There was several ACLU challenges to his deportations. There's a big thing. I think Amnesty International. There's a few organizations.
Okay, but were judges like stepping in and stopping these deportations?
There were cases on it. I'm not sure what I'm not sure what the rulings
I don't remember that ever being an issue.
Did go to court, and there's articles on it you can find in the Washington Examiner, the New York Times, etc., where they have real challenges to they called Obama the deporter in chief, right? There was a big stink from some circles.
But I would posit the reason you can't find anything, Drone, is because despite the fact that people might disagree with Obama's deportations, he wasn't doing so in a way as a show of force to say, hey, look how I'm, fighting against these illegal immigrants. He was going through the legal precedents and processes and saying, hey, these people aren't supposed to be here, get them out. And like I said, I mean, I don't know.
Can I disagree just a little bit?
Yeah.
Real quick.
Sure. That's
before you move on. Kids in cages. That started with the Flores Act, correct? And the Flores Act came under Obama, and the purpose was to separate kids from the parents when they went to prison, but it was acknowledged at the time that it was being used as a deterrent. Okay. So do you not consider that a spectacle?
Not sure if that's indeed why. I haven't looked into that specifically. So for a while, it's since we got in the whole cages debate. I think it's been 5 years. But yeah, if that's the case, then sure. Then Obama was trying to do a show of force. That said, if he was doing this cages thing, and whether or not I agree with it is different from how they're doing it, whether or not he was pushing back on the judicial branch who are saying, hey, you're not allowed to do this. And he's saying, hey, if you try to stop me from doing this, I'm going to find a way to arrest you. Again, this is why comparing these things is not exactly the same. And
I don't want it to get to that point, but what are we supposed to just allow the judicial branch and the Democrats in general just allow this country to be flooded and ignore the will of a majority of the country?
She was doing her official duties of doing a pre-trial for the guy
If
who
she
committed a
allowed, if
misdemeanor,
she
who was an
helped him
illegal
flee,
immigrant.
that's not official duty.
But this
If
is the
I
whole
can-
question. You're just
Right,
begging
that's
the
the
question
question.
of this, right?
If I can interject a little
Go ahead,
bit,
Deesh.
so really to loop back on your question, Wick, I don't think that Trump is like he's not like directing ICE, right? Obviously, he is the commander in chief and he's over the administration, but really, like, I mean, I know a couple of ICE agents, and I know one specifically that is in a sanctuary jurisdiction, and they are pissed at well, they're not at, but they regularly have to go into the sanctuary jurisdictions, and they are pissed at these. Like, there's a lot of animosity, right? Because which in this
They're
area,
pissed at what? Can you be more clear?
they're pissed at the fact that, like, for them to go and essentially do their jobs, they have to basically either do what they're doing at this courthouse, or they have to go into places where they don't get intel from the local police departments, and it's a lot more dangerous for them to do what they perceive as their job. And so, like, it's not Trump arresting this judge, right? I think it probably has more to do with built-up animosity with the
But it was Kash
organization.
Patel.
Yeah, it's
Sure, just real quick. It was Kash Patel who Trump appointed to the position, which is he tweeted about it. He tweeted and he made this into a spectacle. And
Yes.
I when we say Trump, we do mean his administration as well.
Right. But what I'm kind of saying is that really it's
think
more
Trump
so that
Rounding
Trump-
up any immigrants because he couldn't chase them, right?
obviously,
Like,
but Trump is essentially, he's taken the leash off of ICE, and a lot of what we're seeing is the effects of that leash being taken off because they've been really leashed, especially the past 4 years, unable to do their job. And so, frankly, I would expect a lot more judicial overreaches or administrative overreaches than we have been seeing under these circumstances.
It's the leash being taken off, but then also threatening anyone who tries to put some sort of
Trump
leash
can
back
Trump
on
can
in
say
their,
mean
in their
things
jurisdiction, right?
about
Well,
Trump
It's
can
not the
say
only thing.
Don't
Arresting a judge.
don't obfuscate. He's saying mean things. He's saying
It's arresting a
this is
judge.
what's going to happen if you defy
Yes,
us.
yes,
That's
but
very different.
why is he arresting, or why is the judge being arrested? Right there, right? Like, you don't disagree that there is at least enough probable cause for the arrest. You're complaining
I
about
do
how they're
disagree with
performing
that,
the
actually.
arrest.
I actually, when I first read about this, I would have agreed, okay, this seems pretty obvious, but as I read more and read about the legal precedent for how you arrest people like this, there's not enough probable cause to my understanding. This is very, very much an overreach of, hey, this is kind of a weird gray area, but we're going to arrest you within like a few days of this happening. That's not what usually happens.
So because I guess here's a question I have, right? Because a lot of times I've heard from people on your side of the issue that, well, he was apprehended anyways because he had to go through the public hallway, right? What if he had gotten away? Or let's say a private citizen like me, right? I'm harboring someone who is a gang member, and police come to my house with a warrant. Yeah, right. Police come to my house with a warrant, and they essentially are asking if this person lives in my home. And I get mad at them, I scream at them, and I direct them to my wife to talk with them. And while she's doing that, I go and sneak him out the back of my house, and he runs a block down the street, gets caught by another police officer. Would there be probable cause to arrest me or charge me for aiding and abetting and harboring that criminal?
So the legal definition for harboring is actually pretty clear in that the hiding aspect of it is the part that is breaking the law and is the part that is harboring. And yes, you will have had evidence that you were harboring them and then let them escape, whereas she was not hiding him from them. She let them out a side door which went into the main public hallway where there was an agent station. So she was not.
Is it common procedure?
Let Jonah finish.
I think there's some dispute on that.
She was not. Hold on. No, there's no dispute on that. The statement of facts from the
once
government.
Jonah finishes, I'll let you guys respond. But Jonah, go ahead, finish.
The statement of facts from the government's documents, by the way, which has every incentive to frame it in the worst light, and we don't know what the other side statement of facts are. From their documents, they say that she let them out a side door that, yes, is not often used, but that side door leads into the main public hallway to the main elevator to leave the building. And the agent was actually on the elevator with them down to get to the exit. And then once they started identifying themselves, the guy started running away because he was scared, or maybe it was all an inside job or whatever. But we don't know that is the point. And so she was not sheltering and hiding him. She led him into a main public hallway that everyone uses.
Why did she lead him anywhere?
What is the
One
purpose
at
of
a
the jury private entrance into the courtroom?
Well, she used as an exit, not an entrance into the courtroom.
Right, but what is the purpose of there being this way in or out of the courtroom? Like, why does this
generally
exist?
so people aren't seen entering or exiting, but then they went into the main public hallway. I get what you're getting at, but like then they went to where everyone else goes and is seen anyway. So
right, but she released him to a spot that the public normally isn't, correct?
Yeah, but he's not part of the public in this instance. He's the one having his case heard.
So
right, I know.
If we could go back to my example, right? You agree that I would have been harboring and also concealing this criminal in my house, right?
Yeah.
I released him to a public place.
The difference being,
the cops still
if the
got
public
him.
places where the agents already are, if you released him out the front door and he walked past the agents, but they didn't recognize him, that would be the gray area in which this is now an analogous, example.
So,
and also you are harboring him in a private place, not in a public courthouse.
So the difference is if the agents were incompetent enough to not recognize him and he had gotten out, then it's no longer a gray area. So basically, whether or not this was a crime is dependent on the competency
was led
of
to the area where the
agents.
agents already were. It's not about whether or not the agents were competent enough to recognize him. It's that he went to where the agents were. If she, again, this very much
there was no way he could have gotten out. In a like, you can't leave the courthouse without going through public places.
So what you're saying is that it's ambiguous and they have to prove her intent. You can say, like I said, if it turns out she tried to do this, I'm not saying it's like, oh, impossible. In fact, when I first read this, I was like, yeah, this seems like she did that, right? I'm just saying right now it is a gray area. You can't prove it. They have to prove it. And they arrested her under the grounds of this gray area, which is unprecedented. That's what we're talking about. It's not that, hey, it's impossible for her to have done this in a way that was intending for him to escape. It's that it is not clear. It is not cut and dry. And the fact that they're arresting her over this is more to the agenda of the Trump admin than whether or not she's this like horrible, awful criminal. And again, you still haven't contended with the fact that, one, they did completely disrupt her entire docket, but two, that the precedent for these criminal arrests for her specifically are not, hey, let's get this judge who did something in the past that we think might be illegal. It's, hey, someone is in the middle of committing a crime. I believe the example that was used when talking about this was someone that was distributing like child pornography or something, where like they're in the active procedure of doing this. Let's get this criminal warrant and stop them from committing that crime. And that's not what was happening here. This was, she did a thing. Now, if they had brought up, hey, we think she's still harboring people, if she's still trying to let them escape, that would be a completely different story. But they have not alleged that at all. This is a Also,
reasonable, articulable
going on. I don't know if it's your camera.
Yeah, it's tilting. RAS, reasonable, articulable suspicion of a crime is enough for an arrest, right? And that's having committed a crime or in the commission of a crime or about to commit a crime.
I think it's probably
so. If they had RAS that she had done this, reasonable suspicion, then that's grounds for arrest.
I don't think that's.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm just saying.
Can I read you an excerpt from a legal site that I had, and I could share the link to with you?
Yeah, you can. But I just want to know why she took this guy out another exit. Why didn't she just let him go out the normal exit?
Well, that's what we'll find out in the investigation. And like I said, it very well could be that she's trying to harbor him, but we do not know that for sure.
But you're saying the investigation shouldn't take place.
No, I'm not saying that. If anything, I'm saying that the normal procedure of this would be to have an investigation, to go through complaints and to file complaints, and to maybe go through it, like I said, the Bar Association, and say, look, we believe this happened. Let's try to prove it, and not let us arrest her. Because again, she's not in the middle of committing a crime. She's not still a danger to the public, and that's usually why they get these warrants. If I may read this real quick, it says, a criminal complaint is most often used to obtain an arrest warrant in cases where agents and prosecutors are worried about either ongoing criminal conduct or risk to the public at large, as is not infrequently true, both. And then let's see. It's hard to see how the rationale would apply to Judge Dugan's case. Nothing in the criminal complaint suggests that Dugan was involved in any kind of ongoing criminal conduct, let alone conduct that jeopardized the public at large. Even taken in a light most charitable to the government, the facts in the criminal complaint instead describe a judge unsympathetic to an effort by federal agents to enforce immigration laws in the Milwaukee County Courthouse. The complaint itself notes that the chief judge was developing a policy for precisely such matters, and the criminal complaint nowhere suggests that Dugan would willfully resist such a policy once it's in place. So this is, again, going back to an example she did in the past that they have no allegations of continuing to happen, and then they're taking this criminal warrant and saying, let's go arrest this person. That is why we think it is an extension of Trump's show of force. It is not a, hey, this person did something bad, which, again, we admit could be the case. She very well could be harboring or obstructing. They did not go through what is normally the channels to do and arrest this person or charge this person or complain about this person.
They expedited and posted a picture of it. Like, the intent was very clear and very obvious. And it's just not the normal process that anyone would do this.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to, it's like when they do DUI checkpoints, they're trying to like let people know if you drink and drive, you're going to go down. And I feel like that's sort of what they're trying to do here. Like, hey, if you're helping illegals evade ICE and you're keeping them here and not allowing us to deport them, you're on notice. I don't necessarily agree with it, but
do you understand how that could extend to not just do you or do you not deport an illegal immigrant, but literally every single time a judge is presented with a Trump administration case, they will think twice about deciding against them because they might try to arrest that person or
I would say they just don't have to break the law and they should be fine.
But
that's really simple to say, but
yes.
even if there's a single thought in a judge's mind of if I decide this way, could anything happen to me?
It's not about how she decided,
right?
Like,
it's not about how she decided.
Let me bring up an example that maybe will
clear
this up. So
is it? Can you guys answer that?
Sorry,
is this about how she decided?
This is irrelevant. It's not about how she decided. But what I'm saying is, if you're saying it puts all the judges on notice, which is what the point.
Do we know how she was ruled in the case? I'm actually not sure.
This has not been resolved.
It was a pre-trial hearing, and she adjourned it.
Okay, so it wasn't even there was.
It's delayed till May 16th. Or
and that's the other thing too. I mean, again, this doesn't prove intent either way, but she did reschedule this case for him to show up again. And now whether or not like that was a hey, now go get away and you'll never come back, like she put on a docket a calendar appointment for when he was going to show up to court again. So that might be evidence in the other direction. But regardless, if you were to look at the abortion policies that have been happening across the country, I don't want to get into an abortion argument, but just would you acknowledge that there are a lot of doctors, I think there are testimonies from many doctors who are worried about performing certain medical procedures, abortions or otherwise, on women because they're worried about being charged with these abortion crimes. Even though they're not doing anything illegal, they are now hesitant to do certain things that would not be illegal if they think it could be perceived that way, and they would get charged and go to jail for it. And that's kind of what we're saying is going to happen to these judges.
Every instance of doctors that I've seen doing that also happen to be abortion activists. So I don't necessarily take their word at face value. But I actually want to go back to this. Actually, I don't know where I was going with that.
Can we talk about the chilling effect on the judges? Like, do you not think that Paula Zinas is going to at all be worried about the fact that, I mean, first of all, they're already saying we should impeach these people because they're activist judges. And so far, Paula Zinas has not done anything illegal. The Supreme Court said at worst she overreached by saying that when she said facilitate and execute the return of Kilmar Abrego, and they said, okay, but you just can't force the government to do something, so you can just say facilitate. And that was completely through the legal process. Hey, we don't like the way you said this. It was appealed. Now your ruling stands here, and we remove the word.
Hold on,
right?
Soy, just real quick. Soy, did Trump say that? Or
no, the
was
Supreme Court
it...
said that.
No. When talking about impeaching this judge,
I know
Trump
has
threaten
been,
it, or was it
maybe
some
not
guy
this
on
one
Twitter?
Specifically? I'm talking about the context of everything that's happened in the last 3 to 4 months, where he
Okay, but because I do think it's important to make a distinction.
Activist judges. Sure. That is
I do think it's important to make a distinction from rando on Twitter says a thing.
No, this is the administration.
The
Trump,
administration
Elon,
is saying
all these people. Yes.
I think though ultimately going back to like, because you've mentioned multiple times that ICE being present disrupted this judge's hearing.
Yes.
ICE's presence didn't disrupt the hearing more than the judge blowing up at ICE disrupted the hearing and then adjourning it early. And arguably, like, whether you say it's the judge that violated the due process of the victims who were attacked by this immigrant or not, at the end of the day, right, ICE has done this multiple times before and it hasn't blown up into this event. So really, like,
Wait, no, there is a precedent of ICE showing up to courtrooms like this and people complaining about because of exactly what we're complaining about, which is witnesses stop showing up, illegal immigrants
people
stop showing
complain
up to
about
their
it.
court. Right, because it's doing what they're saying it's doing, which is causing illegal immigrants not to show up for court dates for this, right? This wasn't his court date to get deported. This was his court date to say, hey, what are we going to do
he
in
had
this
already
battery
had
charge?
that.
Right, okay, I'm not
Right,
saying
he
that.
already
I'm
had the
saying,
order.
look, what you're doing by showing up in these courts and scaring these people is, again, this is what I'm saying. If you want these people to be deported, this is going against what you want, because now these people are not going to show up to the court process. If you commit a crime as an illegal immigrant, they're not going to show up and, like, you know, get charged with this. They're just going to go away. Witnesses are not going to show up if they're worried about ICE, if they're worried about their family because of ICE. This is disrupting the judicial process in a way that actually hurts people that want to deport all of the illegal immigrants. So that was
And
all.
to be clear,
So
to
then
be clear, Deej,
what is
you
ICE
don't
supposed
know
to do in a
not
sanctuary jurisdiction?
not arrest people at a courthouse is what I would say. But also it's impossible to know, even though they've done this before, it's impossible to know what the actual consequences of that have been, you know? And we don't know what they're going to be in the future too, because we don't know who could have been a witness, who could have been the victim that showed up to these cases and didn't because of what ICE has already done. And we don't know what the consequences of this will be now that they've making a big public statement about it, and they know illegal immigrants know now, where they probably either didn't know or didn't know as well before, after this big case, that yes, ICE can go into a courthouse and can arrest you at that courthouse. You're just going to get way less people coming to testify and even go to their court hearings in the first place. So if you want less illegal immigrants in the country, that seems pretty counterintuitive.
I mean, you're talking about people who are here illegally, we're going to see less of them showing up. Is that what you're saying?
Court to
Correct.
get charged
Yes.
with the
I mean,
crimes that they
if
may
they're
or may not
illegal, if
commit.
they're in the country illegally, they're going to get picked up by ICE anyway, and they shouldn't be here anyway.
No,
So
see,
I don't want to like
they're
tailor
not,
the
because
process
they're
to
going
keep.
so they can
hide.
do so they can do it not at courthouses. Then is what you're saying. That would just be better then.
That's bad, right?
Why?
You don't like it happening at courthouses.
No,
Yes,
not
I mean,
at
like it
courthouses.
happening.
They could get a judicial warrant and go arrest someone at their home who is like an MS-13 gang member. They could show up at their place of work if they're working illegally. Like, these are places, like, there's precedent for how you do this in a way that does not intimidate people in such a way that the illegal immigrants that I think most people would have a problem with, the ones that are here illegally and committing crimes against other illegals or citizens, they're not going to go through the court systems at all. They're going to completely flee every time they think, oh, I might be arrested at this courthouse. I'm not going to go to my pretrial hearing. I'm just going to fuck off.
Think about this guy. Think about literally this guy who had a misdemeanor charge, so it wouldn't be the end of the world even if he got accused of that. He would have never ever gone to this pretrial hearing if he thought there was a good chance that ICE agents would be waiting for him to deport him. He would just flee somewhere else and never actually face justice.
Why would you not already think that? He already got deported once and was here illegally. Why would he not?
Because it's not a widespread thing that people always think ICE agents are going to be at their door. But with this show of force and then publicizing it like incessantly and making a big show out of it, now people do think that they're going to be ICE agents at their workplaces once they hear about this case and other cases like it.
So
Right, maybe
I
they'll
mean,
leave the
this
country.
sounds then like a larger issue of just like, because I mean, it sounds like then we should just be deporting everybody the second that they get into custody, because if they're afraid that they might get deported, they're never going to go to their court cases anyways, right? Because there's a lot of what ifs, right? What if? Like, what is ICE supposed to do if it's a jurisdiction that doesn't cooperate with them? There are people that are known to have been deported that are back in the country.
So again,
get judicial warrants and go to their
they're-
private property.
Yeah,
They
the
don't.
if they want to.
The reason they're there
But they
specifically
can't-
is,
they
like I
can't
said,
get
is
the-
understandable. Is
No, hold on.
because
Let Deej finish. Let
Well,
Deej finish. I want to
well,
hear his
I-
response to this just real quick,
Okay.
please. Go ahead, Deej.
Because in some of these jurisdictions, it's difficult to get the like address of where these people live if it's a sanctuary jurisdiction where they don't cooperate with ICE.
Yep. Sucks to suck then. Like figure it out. Like that, like, or change the law, the federal law, so that sanctuary cities can't be a thing. But like other than that, like,
Well, but
figure it out
if they
yourselves.
did
Like, there's a
that, then
reason
you would call
sanctuary
Trump
city-
a dictator and a tyrant because he's forcing
Well, yeah, I mean,
states to
I would
bow to his
personally
heel.
disagree with it. I would personally disagree with it, but then you're just like way like.
But you create a situation where no matter how you enforce immigration law,
I
you're a
would personally
tyrant.
be against it. I would personally be against it. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I don't want mass deportations. You're
worried
right.
about-
But what I'm saying is they're doing it in a gray area way right now when there's much easier ways. If they wanted to go around sanctuary cities, they could pass a bill in Congress. They don't have the votes to do it, or they could figure that shit out themselves and arrest them in a private place that doesn't disrupt all judicial proceedings in that city or that state.
I do want to engage with Deej's point he is making here, and I want to hear this from, and this is a question to both Soy and to you, Jonah, as well, right? Because this is, I think he has a point here, in that you are creating a situation where there are a group of people out there who, no matter how Trump handles immigration, as long as he's deporting people, whether that be legally, whether that be through due process or whatever, there's going to be a bunch of people calling him a tyrant for doing so. What do we think that? How do we address that? Because unless you're against immigration or against deportations entirely,
that's a stupid point. Yeah, so some people are against deportations entirely, and they're never going to be happy no matter how this is done. We're just saying don't do it at a courthouse because this is both against the people who don't want people to be deported and the people who do want people to be deported, as specifically criminals. So this is the idea that this is a dichotomy between, like if they can't do it at a courthouse, what are they supposed to do? There are, like, we keep naming ways that they could do this that is not at a courthouse that maybe Jonah might have a personal issue with, maybe depending on who's getting deported, I might have a personal issue with, but it's completely irrelevant to the fact that it is not disrupting the judicial system and fucking with people that are otherwise supposed to be showing up to these hearings. You can go to their house.
Right, they're already supposed to be showing up though.
Yeah, they're supposed to be, and they're not going to if you keep showing up to courthouses, and that's why we're saying that's dumb. It's a bad.
Then they'll get arrested. Like you're telling me they're gonna continue breaking more laws.
Yes, they will. Do you want that? I don't.
They'll be, if they don't show up to their court dates, they'll be picked up by the police, correct?
Would you prefer if someone went to their court date, got processed, and then maybe ICE picked them up at their house later that day, or that they commit a second crime and then get deported
and never show up at court at all, and then they have to track them down across?
This is like
they're running away from their community.
This is a bit like you can't police criminals because you're just gonna make them mad and make more criminals.
No, this is not at all what that's about. It's about there are millions of illegal immigrants in the country, and some of them commit crimes that we want them to show up to their court dates for. And if they always think that they have a chance of getting deported every time they go to even a pretrial hearing, none of them are going to go to those things, and you're never going to get any justice for anyone.
This is the reason we have bail. If they're a flight risk, then post a high bail amount. Like people are flight risks.
Hold on, do immigration hearings have bail? I'm not sure.
Is no one above the law? Is that a true statement or not?
Deej, are you going to assume that every single person?
Hold on, answer Drone's question real quick. Drone asked a question. I want to hear the answer from you guys to this. Drone asked a question. Can you ask the question again, please? So
here's worth of no one is above the law, but even when we heard that, we knew how stupid it was because we know Democrats fully support sanctuary cities and they support illegal immigrants. So you don't think no one is above the law. You think you're above the law.
Well, that's
not what sanctuary cities are, by the way.
Okay.
And also,
what are they?
You don't know.
They're sanctuary from immigration law.
Are people getting deported in sanctuary cities? Do you know what sanctuary cities are? Tell me what the difference between that and a normal city is.
Sanctuary city will help keep illegals, hide them from ICE, and keep them from being deported. That's what sanctuary means, correct?
False. All it means
they just don't cooperate with federal.
Yeah, the local.
Right, they don't. That's what I meant. They don't cooperate.
They don't actively hide them. They just say, "You want this information? Sorry, we don't have to provide that to you, and you have to find it yourself." And that's perfectly acceptable. That's perfectly acceptable, by the way.
No, it's not. It's.
Well, that's an ideological disagreement.
This is like no snitching. It's like no
snitching.
Okay, well,
if you wanted to change,
we have laws. They're government, and they're finding ways around the law, carving out exceptions.
Hold on, let Drone finish, please. Let Drone finish, please.
What this is Democrats now carving out exceptions from their own standards, like we're used to them doing. That's what sanctuary cities are. It's just a way around the law.
Sanctuary city, but you're still not living in reality of the actual rational decision making that illegal immigrants go through when they decide whether or not to attend pretrial misdemeanor hearings. By the way, which if in one case it's like, I might have like a misdemeanor on my record and it's like not the end of the world, so I could attend the hearing, but then you get the thought in your mind that, there's a chance I could be deported from the country and my life completely ruined. There's every incentive for that person to never go to those trials again. And all you're going to be doing is having a lot of victims and no way to track down the perpetrators of those things, because it's really hard to chase people across state lines. There's millions of these people. There's probably tens of thousands that are committing crimes.
Just real quick, because it's not just about like we're worried that the people who commit a crime won't go to their court date. It's we're worried that if a man beats up an illegal immigrant and that illegal immigrant wants to press charges because they got beat up, that
witnesses
the
too.
victim won't show up to testify because there are ICE agents who will deport them because they were a victim of a crime.
Yeah, or
which
people
is
are
Correct.
going to be
like
exploited
Right,
in the
but
workplace.
right,
I don't
but
think she's
they're in a
handled either
situation
case
they
because-
created themselves. I'm not saying they should be beat up. Don't get me wrong. I don't want that to happen, and it is a crime.
Sure. I'm not saying you're
the
saying
situation
that,
they created.
Okay,
When you
but
go into
we're
a
arguing
country and
about
you
the
live there
practical
illegally,
thing here, Duran.
you're creating that situation.
Yeah, and would you rather
just-
that these people like are able to help us catch criminals, like if they are, violent people beating up people in the street, or do you want them to get away with it because, well, that guy, he's here illegally, so whatever. Ideologically, I don't think we should go through any of these processes or let any of these people get prosecuted if they're committing crimes, because that guy's not supposed to be here. Like, does the committing of a crime beforehand somehow like deny you all of the ability to participate in our legal system? Like this, I think this is a really ridiculous position.
Well,
to hold.
the whole reason we're in this
it
situation
depends.
to begin with is that our border's been open for way too long through Democrat and Republican administrations.
Yeah, like I mean, at the end of the day, right? What is creating this situation where you're afraid that witnesses won't come up and testify for having been assaulted? The fact that they're in this country illegally. You know how you solve for that? Is by having a process to either get them out of the country or give them a legal status so that that's not an issue.
exist.
And as far as the point about like criminals not coming to their trials, guess what? Criminals already don't want to come to their trials. Right? That's
Yeah.
the reason that we have
Do
bail.
you want no one to come to their trial? Like you're saying, well, something bad happens, therefore nothing should ever good happen ever. We're saying, yes, there are clearly illegal immigrants that are showing up to these places because they're saying, hey, this is not as bad as getting deported. And what you're doing by setting this precedent is saying, hey, let's just have all these people hide as much as they can and never, ever, ever participate in the legal system because now they're scared of being deported. I'm not saying you can't deport people. I'm not saying there's no process in which this should
already
ever
not
happen.
participating in the
literally,
legal
he's
system.
literally in the courthouse. He was there, and now he would never have gone had he known those ICE agents were going to be there.
This is an example of him participating.
He had already been deported, right? He went through the legal system. He was found to be deportable. He was deported without a clause to be able to return to the country, and he came back. The only reason he showed up, right, was because he came back into the country, violating our legal process, and then committed an assault on multiple people.
And even after all of that, even
for
after getting deported once, he still trusted the legal system enough to go there and not fear that he's going to get deported another time. If you start eroding that more, the people who are much more risk averse than this guy, who's already been through the process once and clearly is like, willing to like run away from like police or whatever, like random like women and children who are like the victims of these crimes are never ever going to risk going to
or people who were trafficked.
You know what's an easy solution to that, right? The judge can, when he's arrested, look and say, oh, he's already been deported once. He's a flight risk. We're going to post a bail that he probably won't be able to pay, or at least is enough money that it's going to keep him here. And we're going to use that as the incentive to bring him to the courthouse. Or they can turn him over to ICE and just deport him.
He showed up. He agreed to show up. He was going to the courthouse.
After the arrest, yes.
Yes. What he would not have done this otherwise. That's the whole point. Is that you're saying, oh well,
that's what we have.
Here's this solution to get him to come participate. He was already participating in this system. He was going to this court case. Now, if you want to say, go ahead.
Assume that the people that he had the misdemeanor that like charged him with the misdemeanors, like roommates or whatever, that he like got in a fight with. Assume they were illegal immigrants. Do you think they ever press those charges?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah, I was
right?
wondering
because,
if they're illegals. I don't know. I couldn't find.
I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, they're like it's really easy to think of a world where that's the case, right? Where like
you know what though,
like roommates, and they would never report these things.
I think as a general rule, right, enforcing like the status of illegal immigrants is more important than illegal immigrants being victimized and choosing not to go to a courthouse because they're afraid they're going to face the consequences of their actions.
So your solution is magically deport millions of people and just have none of them engage in the legal system until that happens. That's your solution.
If they are an illegal immigrant, then yes, I think they should either get their legal status situated, or
I
they
understand
should be deported.
your ideological position that they're illegal, they shouldn't be here, but we're talking in a practical sense of there are millions of people here that we can't magically wish away right now. Like Trump promised, as much as he wants mass deportations, this is an incredibly expensive logistical nightmare that's never going to happen, in my opinion. And so if you want these people to, while they're still here, whether or not you think they should all be deported, at least go through legal processes and participate in our legal system and make sure there's not more crime happening, I would prefer that that. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying this is on both sides, right? This is, if you don't want them to be deported, I should not be doing this because you don't want them to be deported. But if you do want them to be deported, you should want them to participate in our legal system insofar as they will prosecute, people might show up who otherwise wouldn't show up, who would maybe prosecute illegal immigrants who are committing crimes. That's the whole reason why this is a bad precedent to set.
How do you get to the point that we now have to set this precedent that the only way to solve illegal immigration is to deport 11 million people?
You're just looping. You're just looping. Like we can agree or disagree if like the extent of the problem, what the problem is you're still not living in reality. If there's an example, like I'm sure this has probably happened before, or it will in the future. If like some illegal immigrant murders a family member of another illegal immigrant family, and they want to go get justice for that murder, but they have a ton of other family members who are also illegal immigrants, and going up to be a witness in that crime could potentially get their entire family deported. You're not going to get those people going to be witnesses unless they're incredibly brave to catch that murderer. And so you're literally going to get more unsolved crimes from the exact people you want to deport the most, which are the illegal immigrants who are actively committing crimes right now. That's probably top of your list, or at least it ought to be. And you're going to get less of those people actually being caught and deported.
They can't commit crimes if they're not in the country, right?
Okay, wave your magic wand and deport all of them then. Like, we're not living in the same reality. You can't just say, well, I want the world to be this way, therefore
this is my point. The reason we're at this situation where we have this massive bucket full of stuff that we want to get rid of is because nobody has been taking anything out, right?
Yeah.
Until you go through the hard and painful process of getting rid of the backlog number of illegal immigrants, you're going to just end up having the number increasing, right?
Because if
we just do what you guys are saying, right? Then in 2030, that number isn't going to be 11 million illegal immigrants, it's going to be 20 million. And then in 2040, it's not going to be 20 million, it's going to be 50 million.
This is silly.
Because more and more people are going to be trying to flee into the country.
What percent of catches and deportations do you think happened at courthouses versus everywhere else? Tell me. Give me a prediction.
I don't know what the specific numbers are.
Okay, unless you're thinking it's over 50%, then your argument you're saying makes literally zero fucking sense. You understand that, right? Even if it's over 50%, it still makes zero fucking sense.
This person was already arrested.
How does that relate at all to what I just said?
Because the reason he showed up at court was because he was arrested, not because he just like they gave him a ticket.
Hold on,
and
he was arrested.
Yeah,
he was arrested.
Because I don't know, and I want to know. Did he come to the courthouse from jail? Or did he come to the courthouse from his private residence?
I actually don't know.
Because that makes a difference.
From his private residence. This is a pretrial misdemeanor hearing. He's not a murderer.
Was there bail?
That would be useful to know, wouldn't there? Right? Like,
this is not. You keep downplaying. You do keep downplaying with. You said he's not a murderer. It was just a misdemeanor. Was it a misdemeanor? I can't find anything about actual charges.
Battery assault, which is we're not saying this is good. We're saying the reason, like, this is the reason he showed up, is because he's not like, I'm gonna get locked up for 25 years. It's that, like, he's like, hey, like, I did a thing, this might be bad, I'm gonna show up and go through the legal process. And what we're saying is, again, and you will not contend with this, hey, yes, if I were to believe in your ideology, I would wish that every single illegal immigrant could be magically wished away. The problem is it's very difficult to do that, and you're not contending with the fact that it's going to be more difficult to deport more people if you show up at courthouses, because once you start doing that, and it might already be the line might have already been crossed, no one is going to show up there, so you can't do it anymore. That's why you shouldn't do it.
So here's actually what should have happened, right? This shouldn't have been a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Can you address what I just said?
So the problem is that I don't care necessarily that people that have an illegal status are afraid to show up at court, because if the system was working properly, they wouldn't need to either be afraid of showing up at court, or they wouldn't be here to have committed the crime.
That is our issue with this, because I understand your logic there, Deez. It's like the whole reason this is a problem is because they're here illegally. Okay, sure, that's true. They are here illegally. They are the people that decided to come here and make that our problem. But they're here now. And if we live in reality, what we want less criminals, okay? We want less people committing crimes. We want more people prosecuted, and we want people to go through the legal system. So now that they are here, it is not relevant why they are here. We're not using their illegal status as the justification for how we now treat completely what their every action they take in the judicial system. It is, hey, they're here now. We can't just magically deport them. Therefore, we would prefer, if you want more people to be deported, for them to at least go through legal systems and charge people who are being criminals. And we want people to show up and not be afraid to show up and let this process happen. But also that we should go and arrest these people outside so that we can do more of them, because you can't do as many of these deportations if you're arresting them in courthouses if they don't show up anymore, which is what's going to happen. So regardless of what side you're on, it doesn't make sense to do this.
Well, then how about instead these sanctuary jurisdictions cooperate with the feds so that when they arrest somebody who's in this status, they can properly be put into the system, and ICE doesn't feel like the best place to go and arrest these people is at these court hearings.
That's a fair argument. If you want to say that Trump should crack down on sanctuary cities in some way, I might have a problem with that, but that is a thing that might actually have more material results that you would agree with, which is more people.
I think that's about to happen, by the way. Tom Homan just hinted at it.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about for a minute, because I think it might get us off this loop that we're in. Let's talk about sanctuary cities for a minute. I think this comes down to an issue between state versus federal government here. Let me ask you a question to you, Drone Tech. You're against sanctuary cities, right? You don't like them? Is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Do you feel the same way about, say, Texas wanted to have a city where they were like, you know what? All these gun laws that those liberals and the federal government are passing, you know what we're going to do? We're just not going to cooperate when the cops come to.
So notice I had 3 points at the beginning of this. One was it's a very gray area for the Dugan. One was this is setting a bad precedent by showing up the courthouses. And the third was this is administrative overreach. And they just have not contested any of those things. And now we're moving on. Great.
Great comparison, Wick. Where'd you get that? Example?
That's a good question.
Really quick, by the way, I just want to say the defendant in this case did have bail that he had to post.
$1,200 or something.
Okay, so wait, so your proposed solution, which was to have bail for
I want to hear the answer to my question.
It still didn't work.
Yeah.
I would say it's a little different because we have the Second Amendment, we have constitutional right, and if the law violated constitutional rights, then there might be there might be a reason to ignore it, but I would say it's a little bit different just because there is a constitutional right. There's no constitutional right to be able to live in the country illegally or to violate federal law on that.
What if they could show that they were violating their Fifth and Eighth Amendments?
The constitutional rights, the Fifth and the Eighth Amendment, for example, protect illegal immigrants too, like Eighth Amendment being cruel and unusual punishment, and Fifth Amendment being entitlement to due process and things like that. And so if the sanctuary city that's protecting illegal immigrants are worried that by sending people to CCOT that violates people's Eighth Amendment, wouldn't they also be justified in maybe not cooperating with ICE agents coming to ship people away to the foreign torture gulag?
Well, if you might have a point there, if it's about sending people off, because I disagreed with that, sending off to El Salvador prison with no. So I would agree with you in that case.
Okay.
So if I can answer, I think sanctuary states, cities are totally fine, but I think that there are certain federal entitlements that they should lose if they refuse to cooperate with the Fed. I'd have to think about what entitlements they're actually
okay. You don't
receiving,
have to give I know this is just a hypothetical.
Just generally, like if a state refuses to cooperate with the federal government, that the federal government can also choose to not cooperate with the state.
Would you extend that? Would you extend that to it, like the gun law example that Wick just gave as well?
If the state of Utah were to refuse to abide by the NFA, which I'd be totally. Or not NFA, but just refuse to cooperate with.
I understand what you mean. Yes.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy for that, even if it came at the cost of we get less funding for our national parks or anything like that.
How far would you be willing to take that? How like all federal funding, would that be acceptable to you? Where's the line for that?
Sure.
What if Utah had an earthquake? Not that it's on a fault line, right?
Like FEMA
a fucking Okay, so say a state with natural disasters did this, and they had a natural disaster. Do you think that a sanctuary city, for example, either from gun laws or from illegal immigrants, that the administration of the federal government should withhold disaster relief funds because they refuse to let either gun laws or ICE laws be enforced.
Sure, let them.
Jesus.
Really?
Like make
Okay.
it make it
insane.
legal.
Let's
but,
collectively
like,
punish the
yeah,
whole
have it-
state suffering from a natural
That's
disaster because of
insane.
the
Yeah,
actions
That is
of the
like have it
government.
be
Like,
legal.
dude,
I mean,
what the fuck?
most likely, right? Most likely, the right thing to do would be like, look, it's a natural disaster. We'll overlook it, but technically, we don't have to. Right? Look at how generous we are to you. Maybe you should think about cooperating with us more.
This is very Trumpish.
And I just want to say real quick earlier, like when I was saying it's their choice, you're like, this guy's an idiot. Look, I get what you guys are saying. There's this reality, and then there's me saying, oh, but they, ignore that, and they're just illegal and just get them out. My point, I'm just saying that we got to this point. The people that are most outraged here are the people who got us to this point in the first place. And so it's a shitty situation, but we have to fix it somehow. And
what
this
we're
might not
saying
necessarily be it, but I'm just saying, like,
sure,
I'm not saying you guys, but you guys got us here.
Sure, but Drone Tech,
You're making your job harder.
Would you concede?
No, it was Soy specifically. I saw him let them all in. Go ahead, Soy.
Wick, I told you that in comments.
I also did
Drone Tech, what we're saying, and I'm not trying to gotcha on this. What we're saying is, and tell me if you disagree, does showing up to courthouses make the job of ICE harder in the long run?
I can see, I see what you're saying, and that might be possibly what happens. We don't exactly know yet, do we?
Well, so
but you might be right.
Sure, that
you might be right.
In the past, them doing this has set some precedent of, okay, hey, fewer people are showing up to hearings, right? Depending on where this is done. Now, whether or not it would happen in this specific case, we don't know. Maybe there's like a broader study on this. But again, I came into this with 3 points, and I think Jonah agrees with most of these. One is that it's ambiguous as to whether or not they should be arresting this judge in the way that they did, not whether or not she committed a crime. Well, whether or not she committed a crime.
Well, let's take these one at a time. So
but,
finish your first point, and then I want to see if they agree with that.
I want to ask something too.
So let's start with the first one. The first one being, which I think you might agree, that showing up to the courthouses like this will probably, or at least in the past, and you can understand logically how this would happen, make ICE's job harder, which is bad for both the people that want ICE to deport people, but also it's bad for the people that don't want these people to be deported. So it seems like they shouldn't do this.
Who's answering? But do you think as a bigger effect, ICE being at the courthouse, which is bigger, ICE being at the courthouse or Donald Trump being reelected? And he ran big on mass deportations.
Would you say that? I would say that Donald Trump, border policy and a general platform probably disincentivizes more illegal immigration. But
I'm saying people going to court. I mean, would that not be a bigger disincentive than this one thing that happened at this one court?
One can be bigger, and one can still also like extra disincentivize them.
I will say to Drone Tech's point, though, but I'm not sure if it supports his point or not. But I know people on student visas who are scared to go to court now, who are here legally, but they're scared that they're going to get their visas revoked for whatever.
Of the Khalil situation.
Right? Well, because
Mahmoud
of
Khalil.
just Trump and the admin's general ideology towards and their stance towards immigration in general.
Yeah, so
I
think this is irrelevant, but Wick, to the point that he's asking, yes, I think Trump in general is going to have a greater chilling effect on people showing up to courthouses, but this has nothing to do with, like, I'm not saying, if I had to pick one, it's just, hey, yes, he has this effect. Also, this is going to also have an effect that is bad, I think. I think we should want people to go to the courthouses, and I think this at very least, could be accomplished if you agree with these deportations without showing up to the courthouses, and we can avoid that one. I can't tell Trump to change his mind about his entire immigration platform, but yeah, it's going to probably be a bigger effect than specifically this thing.
Okay. Do you have a second point you wanted to get to?
The other 2 points that we came in for, one was that it was a gray area on the Dugan case, whether or not she should have been, whether or not she committed the crime, whether or not, I think whether or not she should have been arrested this way is less gray. I don't think she should have been arrested this way, but do you concede that it is at least plausible that this is not like clear intent? It's like, yeah, I can see exactly how this could have been an intent to harbor someone. However, we do not have the facts that show 100% this is true, right? Like, that's why it's going to play out in court.
That's never the standard for why you charge someone with any crime, right? You're innocent until proven guilty. So it's ultimately up to the prosecution.
Criminal warrant arresting her immediately after this, not, hey, Do we know 100% if this person committed a crime? That's why due process exists. Obviously, I'm not saying like, yeah, you could walk in, if someone's holding a bloody knife over a dead corpse, right? Looks like they committed a murder. They still have to go through the system. I'm saying specifically, given the facts of this case, going after this person with a criminal warrant, which, as you don't have to believe me, but my understanding is that these are used for ongoing crimes or crimes that are going to be committed in the future or harm to the public in the future, which is not the case. Would you at least admit that it doesn't seem like she was going to continue this?
That might be how it's like used traditionally. But I mean, if they really did violate her rights by going after her with a criminal,
I didn't say they violated rights,
like you're saying,
by the way.
well,
I think this all might be legal.
Right, but that's kind of like the thing of, that's sort of the theme of basically 2020 to current year is, well, it's technically legal.
Okay.
What we're doing is technically legal. Yeah, does it like break norms? Yes, but what we're doing is still technically legal. You know, they were doing it with Trump. They were doing it with like.
Yeah, I have a question for Soy Pill and for Jonah. So, do you think that the Wisconsin Supreme Court should have suspended Dugan? Because they did. They suspended Dugan from practicing and things like that. Do you think that they were overstepping? Do you think that they were overreaching?
I would need to know whether it's just standard practice for anyone undergoing a criminal trial to get suspended, like their license, or if they agree with the administration. I actually don't know which it is, because I could see it being the case.
Like it could just be suspended her because of that. You're being blown up by the Trump admin. All eyes are on you right now, and we don't want you to cause any more problems. Like, even if we agree with what you're saying, get the hell out of here. There's a million reasons why they could have done that, and I'm sure most of them, I would say, are probably justifiable, regardless of whether or not they think that she did the crime.
Okay.
They're looking out for their own like the stability of.
That's why they put cops on administrative leave, even if they don't think they did anything wrong.
Okay, now to Deej, and this is to Drone as well. You guys keep saying that, and you guys keep bringing up, and I understand it's comparison, right? That you guys bringing up like that this is a world we live in now, where the Democrats have done this to a lesser extent, maybe. Can you give us the best example you guys got of a comparable instance where you think that the Democrats overreached and used legal peril towards a political opponent that was sympathetic towards Trump or ally of Trump or what have you? What is your strongest case that you would bring forward?
So I have two cases, and I think that these two cases are part of the reason Trump won in 2024 and turned him into a martyr and somehow was able to redeem himself from his actions in 2020. But and I don't remember the names involved because I'm terrible with names, but his whole real estate dealings in New York City, where they were trying to pin him on fraud because of his tax filings. Or it's been a long time since I've looked at it. That's one case. Another case is when they changed the law for 1 year for the statute of limitations to bring sexual assault claims. Seems you can't prove, right, that it was targeted at Trump, but it seems very convenient that it happened to have happened the way that it was and prosecuted the way that it was. And I think that in general, those cases shifted public opinion towards viewing Trump more as a martyr and less of a sociopath.
I understand the optics argument, but I'm asking for, do you think that it was improper for the Democrats to do it that way?
I think it was, even though I also agree it was technically legal, everything that they did.
Okay, Drone,
what
would your answer be?
Yeah, the 34 felony counts, I don't know, is that what you were talking about? That was the one that was past statute of limitations and they magically, did something that's never been done before. And, okay. So that was the most absurd one of all. And it was done by Democrats who ran, Democrat DAs who ran on doing that to Trump. Like they literally got elected to do that. So, I mean, it was purely political, purely partisan, clearly being done to keep him from winning the election again. And so, yeah, I think that was the most egregious right there. And the fact that it had such wide support from our supposed checks on power is a problem.
Well, so again, the reason these things aren't, I think, comparable, especially to this Dugan case, is one, but this is very gray. We do not know for sure if she committed this crime. Trump, however, definitely committed those crimes. It's legally proven that he did. So that's a completely different thing. Now, again, whether or not, and I
Hang
might
off
actually,
a
well, hold on, I
porn
might
star
have
is a
some leeway
crime?
here. Let me just concede something and then you can say this. I would say probably he wouldn't have been prosecuted with these were he not the president. Now, whether that's them going after him because he's the political opponent or because he is the most famous person in the world and now there are a lot more eyes on his criminal activities, I think is debatable. But regardless, the fact that he did commit these crimes is now a fact, right? Like, it's not just, oh, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. It's true. So again, maybe it's going to come out that she did also commit this crime. But do you disagree that he falsified business records? I mean, in a court of law, like they found that this was true, right?
No, well, in the court of law, he got convicted of 34 felonies, which is like it reminded me of something that Putin would do to his opponents.
Well,
like
sure,
it was absurd.
It's maybe
The number of felonies is irrelevant to the guilt or not.
Like,
right?
yeah,
Well,
do you
the
think
number
he
of
did it or
felonies
not?
shows the absurdity of what was done.
Did you follow the case? Do you think he didn't falsify the business records?
Yeah, I mean, I know that I did follow it. I can't remember it exactly, but I know that it was basically he paid off a porn star, and there was an error in the paperwork for it. But I don't see how that equates to 34 felonies, especially when it was originally a misdemeanor. It was past statute of limitation.
But again,
I think if they were applying these standards across all people in his economic bracket, you would not have someone with a net worth over $1 billion that wouldn't have many felonies.
I agree. We should go after more billionaires, but that has little to do with
what do you think
whether
was
or
so
not
egregious about that?
It's not. So
just out of curiosity.
I might not specifically think that this is like, oh my God, how dare he falsify those business records? It's more of the fact that he did commit the crime of falsifying the business records, and he should be punished according to the law of what you're supposed to do when someone does that, right? I don't think that maybe that should bar him from being president. I don't even know if I would say a felon shouldn't be able to run for president. I think felons should be able to vote. I don't like that some of them can't. And hey, if someone had a really good platform,
but it's not a real felony. That's the thing.
I mean, it literally is. I don't know what you want me to say. Like,
no,
it's
again.
Wait, hold on,
if it'd
like
be a misdemeanor.
Well, hold on. Let me again, because I am conceding this, right? Like, I don't think these eyes would be on this specific case. I don't think anyone would give a shit if he wasn't president. Now, whether or not that means he should still be charged with it, hey, if you committed the crime, do the time, whatever. But the point is, we're comparing this to a person who has, as far as we know now, maybe or maybe did not commit this crime, and arresting them in a way like they didn't show up to Trump's house a few days after he committed this and they found out about this and arrest him and then say, hey, here's a photo of Trump being arrested for these felony crimes. Do not commit felonies. This was a show of force, and that was.
So,
did they do an FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago, or did they do one on Biden, or did they do one on Mar-a-Lago?
This is an either or question. I know they did one on Mar-a-Lago. Did they? I think Biden found out he had documents and said, "Hey, I have these documents. I'm not supposed to have them." Trump didn't, and they had to go raid.
He had them for like whatever, dude. He had them
sure,
for like 3 years.
But the point is,
oh my God.
So the difference, right, is that Dugan is undergoing an active trial, right? Trump, his trial was in the past, and so it's concluded. Are you saying that, like, if we were having this same conversation back in 2020, or whenever the trial was ongoing, right, like that, it would change? Because like the whole point is they brought charges
This is why
forward.
I brought up this fact. It's like, okay, he's been convicted. So let's say that Dugan is convicted, right? We're not saying that she can't be convicted. We're not saying that, oh, this is clearly like, she's innocent and this is a ridiculous charge and you can't ever arrest a judge. Judges can't commit crimes. Because anyone who's, I don't like that people are saying they're going after judges now, and the implication being that you can't arrest a judge. If a judge did a crime, especially in I think one of these other two was like much more obvious, like this judge was harboring an illegal immigrant, to my understanding. It's like, yeah, okay, they committed a crime, arrest them. They're not above the law, right? And Trump isn't either. The problem is the way this is carried out is a clear indication of the show of force that Trump is trying to do, not to go after people who are committing crimes, but to go after judges who are defying his will in the immigration platform. So hold on, wait, let me just finish this, right? So like, if you want to argue against the fact that like, hey, yeah, okay, Trump committed these felonies, but I think the way they're going after him is just a show of force. Like, this is not about whether or not he committed some sort of business fraud or lied on these business records. This is trying to like scare him out of running for the presidency. There's an argument there that I might even agree with, where it's like, yeah, like, okay, if he committed crimes, he should be punished, but I don't like that they're like sniffing out the like any specific thing just to get this guy to do something, rather than, hey, I think this crime is a crime and he should be punished. There's an argument there for sure. But again, I think that is what they're doing with Dugan. That's why they're broadcasting this. They're trying to disincentivize not just crimes, but specifically people going against them, like Paula Zenas, who did not commit a crime.
Just quick, they did it during an election. I mean, that's pretty big. They were trying to influence the outcome of an election.
Sure. Well,
and there was
fair,
other
they were
stuff
also
too
trying to
with
do it way before the
ballots.
election. It just took way too long.
Has Trump arrested Judge Azinas?
No. We're talking about the chilling effect of, hey, judges, if you defy us, which is what Zenas is doing. Hey, like,
so
these people are going
Trump, has Trump gone after any judges specifically because they have tried to defy him?
No, he's not that stupid yet.
Well, just to be clear, he has pressed charges, or he has sued a pollster who had put out a poll he didn't like. He did that. He has pressed charges. I'm not sure what those charges. I'm not sure if it's a lawsuit or criminal charges against the law firm that represented the Dominion voting machines in their lawsuit against Fox News. He has done that. He has revoked the...
Are those criminal or civil, though?
I don't know if those are criminal or civil charges against that law firm. I don't know. He has also rescinded the... there's a status that'll let you get through immigration real quick, right, to get processed for visas and things. He has rescinded the status, that status for people who have disagreed with him about the election being stolen. So he has done things against people who simply just don't agree with him. I don't think he's arrested anyone specifically for that.
I mean, he's gone through the legal system. It's kind of stupid, but he's going through the legal system.
It's also
he's doing everything within his power to retaliate.
Scaring judges, like this is, and which we don't want to happen, because their intent is, hey, not just are you committing a crime, it's, hey, if you do something I don't like, I want as much as possible you to question your decision of going against my administration, which is what we're upset about.
It is, yeah. It's think twice before you do something to piss us off.
I think this does start to bring up the broader topic, though, about, and it's actually not so much activist judges as it is activist prosecutors, but in general, how did we get to this point where a huge portion of the US population is pretty much just okay with violating the due process of illegal immigrants because there are so many of them in the country now, and they feel like we are not enforcing our immigration law.
Right, there's no due process. There's no due process to get them in here, but it's like impossible to get them.
Actually, there is a due process to get them in. A bunch of the people that came in during the Biden administration were going legally through asylum. Whether or not they showed up later to their court dates, that's different. And you can argue, hey, I don't think they should be able to apply for asylum that way, but most of these people were actually not technically coming in illegally. It was the defiance of the later court dates that is illegal. So again, you can be upset about this, and I don't know why we're relitigating this. Like, hey, the only reason this is happening is, sure, but we're talking about this Dugan case and what we think should be done about this. And now maybe, I don't know if you guys would agree to this, but I have talked to people that say, look, this is so bad, and they, fought against so many of due processes of coming in here for so long. We should just, if we even suspect someone, just kick them out immediately, put them in a van and put them on a plane and get them the fuck out of there, which is what happened with the break. I don't know if you would agree with that, Jerome. I think you were arguing against it, but yeah, that would disincentivize a lot of people. You probably get a lot of innocent people. You probably get people that don't deserve to be deported, and you'd completely disrupt the country. But that is your magic wand of if we just start rounding up brown people and putting them on a plane. We're talking about the reality of what's currently going on, and this is not, again, conducive to facilitating the left's goals or the right's goals if you show up at these courthouses or if you arrest these judges. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I agree that there's an issue with strategy in general.
Okay.
But I feel like the problem is that the people who are concerned about the due process don't really provide a reasonable alternative. The alternative is basically we just let them stay in here and continue to accumulate the numbers, because it's not possible to adjudicate all of these asylum cases faster than they're coming in here, unless people are scared of coming in, the chilling effect that Trump does have.
They tried to pass a bill to give more money and funding to more judges, and
giving
Trump
more money and funding doesn't solve the problem.
It will make it better to process asylum cases, though. So doing nothing.
The backlog of not having enough money to hire enough judges, or train and then hire enough judges. You don't think having more money to have more judges and process more cases would help process more cases? Or
the problem is that you need to be able to because there's two ways, right, that you can solve a demand problem, right? You can either create more supply, or you can filter out that demand, right? There's plenty of people who should not probably qualify for asylum strictly because they have to go through 8 safe countries just to get to the US.
Okay.
Right? Like,
So
like
they
they're
could
like if they were
change that.
serious about solving the problem, it's not necessarily just throw more judges at the problem, because what happens then when you've hired up and you've trained all these judges and now the supply of immigrants are not enough to sustain all of these judges, like it's almost like you create this economic incentive for people to continue coming into this country.
Wait, so
Otherwise, you have a bunch
I
of
think
judges.
you're
just
inventing
hiring
you're
judges
inventing
not
a
abstract concepts.
impacted that this would increase the demand for immigrants.
Yeah, you're inventing a problem that is unlikely to exist. There's such an insane backlog that even if we hired hundreds and hundreds of new judges, like they would still take a while to get through this massive backlog. So you're just thinking like, oh, but in 50 years from now, once there's no more backlog, what will we do with the couple $1 million that we spent on these new judges? Like,
oh, it's
okay,
not a
cross
couple
that bridge when we
million
get there.
dollars on
Like,
these judges,
okay,
to be clear.
$50 million, $100 million. That's a problem for 50 years from now when this problem that you claim to care about is solved, apparently.
And what happens then when, climate change is happening, right? There's going to be far, far, far more people in central, like along the equator, that are going to continue to be moved to the poles, right?
Mm-hmm.
The demand for people that are going to be seeking asylum, and the best place to seek asylum, is only going to continue increasing as time goes on. Right?
So we should
and
hire
even if
more
we
judges.
were to double, because here's the problem, right? You're just saying hire more judges. You don't have to just hire more judges. Not everybody needs to see a judge to say you clearly don't qualify for asylum, right? You're fleeing
but in
something
this global
dangerous in
warming
your country. But
example,
why do you have to travel across the Atlantic Ocean into Honduras and then go from Honduras through all these South American countries that you're not being persecuted in, just so you can make it into America, because America has more stuff to give you?
Do you want to just completely abolish the asylum process? Is that what you're getting at? Would you rather just not have it at all?
No, I just think that we should have like quicker dequalifications for people that are seeking asylum. If you're seeking asylum,
how
right,
do you determine
it's because
that?
you're
How do you
fleeing
determine if you're qualified or not?
Are you in a contiguous land border country or from specific countries we've specified?
How do you determine that? How do you determine that? How do you determine
contiguous land border or the federal?
How do you determine
where they're
the
from?
border? I look like this.
How do you determine where they're from?
Know that fact? You
Could
can't
it be a judge?
I mean, we know where these people are from when they go through the asylum process.
How do we know?
No, false.
You can ask Mexico. You can ask the countries that are like
they don't record every single person who gets to the border. There's a reason why
we can.
Always like same in the Monday. Like, we can just do it quickly. There's a reason why in due process, like we have due process, is because we don't know the answers to these questions until we investigate the answers to these questions, and we need judges to do that. Other people aren't qualified to do that.
So here's a simple way you can do this, right? They're coming in through the Mexican border, right? The ICE agent says, "What's your name?" They then have cooperation with the Mexican government so that they can identify if this person is actually a Mexican citizen, right? Is he a Mexican citizen? Does he? Then yeah, he can go and qualify. If the person doesn't show up as a Mexican citizen, or like his appearance doesn't match the name that he's given or whatever, then tough luck.
His appearance doesn't match the name he is given. Let's explore that.
Very idealistic situation.
So you
well, no, it's not actually.
It is because there are plenty of.
My name is Joe. I'm a Mexican immigrant
prosecuted by like gangs and stuff, and whether it's El Salvador or any of these like bordering countries to Mexico that may or may not be safe in Mexico or be facing prosecution from both of these places, and just simply but whether or not they're a citizen is enough to just say, okay, no asylum for you. Like if you're not on this list, like you have to leave. Like this is very idealistic. There's like I can think of like 10 billion edge cases off the top of my head where this is completely going to fuck over a bunch of people, and like that's why Jonah asked if you want to just get rid of asylum, because that is kind of seems like what would practically you would lean to, which is, look, we can't always tell, and there's not really a real solution here, so just don't let anyone in who claims asylum. Like I disagree with you, but at least that's a consistent like, hey, that would cut it off completely.
So if you want ideological consistency, Deej,
can I ask a quick question?
I want to give it to Drone.
Yeah,
Drone,
like, do you have a limit for how?
That's
So
hilarious.
I want to help people, but the asylum system has been broken for a long time. Barack Obama used to talk about it being broken, and that it's not meant for people to come just because they live in a bad neighborhood or something like that, or they're poor. That's not what asylum's for, but that's what it's being used for. And real quick. Donald Trump stopped it at the border with the Remain in Mexico policy on his first term. Then Biden got rid of that. They got overran, and it stopped again with Trump just basically getting back into office without judges or spending anything.
Did you support the immigration bill last year, Drone? you have
The
wanted
one
that
that
to
was
pass?
gonna buy
The
more
one that
judges.
the
and all?
one
The
the
bipartisan
one
one,
that
yeah.
Trump killed. Yeah, that was initial sponsor was
Trump
Republicans.
didn't hold any position of power. I know he gets blamed for killing it, but
Well, wait,
yeah, I
to
don't
be
agree with
clear-
it because it wasn't. No, I didn't agree with it.
Well, yeah, but Jerome, Trump is on record. The senators who voted against it were like, Trump told me not to.
Yeah,
vote for
but
this.
Trump
Like,
tells us he isn't
saying.
didn't agree with it. Why? What was wrong with the bill that you opposed it?
If I remember correctly, it was still letting in like a ridiculous amount of people every year, right? And
Right, so would you
it got
prefer the number
more
be
judges
0?
and it got more
It
border guards.
capped it at, I believe,
But
5,000
let Trump
per
finish
day.
so we
No,
can.
but look,
we can hear what he
I'm
has.
saying that like Trump has already done, like he's already, we didn't need that bill. Did have the encounters at the border plummeted or not?
Yeah.
Is there more funding? Is there more funding to process the millions of people
See,
already here?
Here's the problem though, right? The answer is always just throw money at the problem, right? The bill, basically all it didn't change any of the fundamentally flawed administrative problems with our asylum system. All it did was say, let's throw more money at it. Let's hire more judges so we can process
you
more
could be upset
cases
if it's
through
not
This is
these
one of those
judges.
times where that's what's needed. Actually,
No,
it's not always
because
it's not always
there
the
are
case, but it
tons
is
of
here.
people who don't necessarily have to see a judge to see that. All right, are you like, okay, you're from some
Who would they see
African
then?
country,
Yeah, who-
and you're
random ICE
claiming
agent?
that you're sure you can hire
A
paralegals to do it.
random ICE agent is going to determine whether someone's from Africa or is maybe just
You
like
can have
a
an
dark person from
administrative
Mexico.
checklist.
Like what are we doing?
can have
These
an
are
You're not
random
gonna be
administrative
people
able-
like
checklist.
coming across the border. Like,
Hello.
You can
Yes,
have
but
an
we still care
administrative-
about an asylum process.
Do you have a
We still
citizen named
want an asylum
Manuel
process.
Hernandez? Do you have one citizen named Manuel Hernandez? Because if we're going to make sure this person is who they are.
Okay. How do we verify like passports are legit when people come into the country?
You mean like with the
How
little
do
scanner
we
thing?
validate that a Mexican passport like person is claiming they are who they claim that they are?
When they come in through?
Is there
like, an
almost like a
airport?
database that you can look up that has like a picture
Sure.
of the person
Are
when
we-
they got the
are we trying to-
document,
are we
or
trying-
with
are we trying to-
citizenship?
passports should be able to?
Yeah,
claim
are we
asylum?
trying to claim that
No.
only Mexicans who can travel on airplanes internationally will be the ones that are allowed
No.
across the border to
but
claim
the
asylum
point
from
is,
dangerous situations?
the point is that Mexico, a contiguous land border nation, has a database that we can look up to prove the identity of people who claim that they are who they are, right?
Right. So is it
Does
just
Does
one? Is
Mexico
it,
have
is
that
it like in an
system?
airport where you're just going to have a guy at a kiosk and he's going to say, "Hey, all right, I'm looking at you. Okay, here's a database. I found you. I didn't find you. Whatever. Get the fuck out." Or is there maybe some sort of hearing to figure out whether or not this person is indeed who they say they are, or
What
whether
they
or not
can
their
do-
claim of asylum, of whether or not they're being persecuted, whether it's in Venezuela, like this. Garcia was persecuted in El Salvador, right? But he showed that there was still like Tren de Aragua people that were persecuting him, not just there, but in other places, right? So that's why his actual what was it? Not the stay, the remain thing that the judge gave him, so that he couldn't
Withholding?
immediately be deported to El Salvador. Sorry.
The withholding from
Yeah, the withholding from
deporting to El
removal.
Salvador?
Because he was able to prove that, only because he was able to see a judge. Like that was the only way we were able to see that. You can't just determine this based on like whether or not you're in a database.
There are other places where people can go to be safe. So you have a clear definition of the people that can apply for asylum from a specific set of countries that have been identified that we take them from, or a nation with a contiguous land border, because that would be that person's, like, getting to the US would be the first safe haven that they can get to, right? And if there is a question on, like, they provide their name, and if they claim they're a Mexican citizen, right? And we can validate that at least they gave a right name and they roughly fit the description of this person that's in the database, then you can put them into the judicial process to validate all of that. But there are plenty of people that are clearly like, you're from Honduras. Why do you need to seek asylum here?
Is there some principled position where if someone was from Honduras, for example, and they had a legitimate claim that they would be in danger even in Mexico, that we shouldn't let that person in if they can prove that they would be in danger in all of the countries leading up to America? What's your principle? Like, what part of your principles are saying no? We still should not let that person in, even if they can prove that they are going to be in danger in all of these countries.
If they can provide like enough evidence at the gate, then you can have an administrative process.
How would they
deal with
provide?
Yeah, and how would they
What's
prove
your-
it?
What's your
Okay,
standard
hold
for
on.
in danger? Like, just because you live in a bad neighborhood and you see that as dangerous, that's not
It turns
asylum.
out we have trained judges to determine these things. Wow, that's crazy. We should maybe spend more money to hire more of them to process more
Okay.
cases.
Okay, we're kind
Should-
of
Should
We're
should
off.
we have judges at pharmacies, at airports, at doctors' offices?
No, because those are for legal immigrants, and it's for far less important things than whether or not you get to enter the country or not. It's just fill your prescription or get on an airplane. So
But you see nothing wrong with asylum. It's just fine.
asylum's
Our-
super
yeah,
important
our-
process.
our
We should
asylum
hire more
system
people
is
to make
broken.
sure people get heard. Yeah,
He's asking, like,
it
in
is
the
broken.
cur-
Well,
the
our
way
asylum system's
works.
being abused, and you just want to incentivize more of that, right?
No, I want to hire more people so there's less abuse going on, so people can actually make use of a process that is a good thing to have as a rich country that wants to protect people from getting killed in neighboring countries. I think we should have it, and we should have it in an efficient
So
process.
why don't we just bring
have enough
everybody in?
judges to evaluate everyone? Well,
Just bring them
you're
all in.
arguing-
Just bring
you're
everybody from
arguing-
those,
you're
because they're all in
arguing-
danger, right?
You're
They're all in
arguing-
danger.
Tech, no, you are arguing against yourself. If you wanted less people here on the asylum process, you would want more judges to be able to hear the cases and then kick them out once they realize that a lot of these people aren't actually in danger like they say they are. But because you don't want more funding, you're just letting the same exact process through the entire
They
Biden
still
administration.
get
You
in.
complain about it, but you don't want to solve the problem. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
So-
yeah.
so
They
the
get
only-
in, they go through the process. It doesn't work out in their favor. They stay anyway.
So the only person that can determine whether someone is a legitimate asylee seeker versus someone who is just migrating economically is a judge. There's no administrative process we could have that could filter out people based off of specific criteria. Is that the argument that you're saying? The
I'm
only
sure there
person that
probably
can
are.
determine this is a judge.
There probably are ways you can filter out, but the ways that you described are bad and it would not work.
Okay, let me read a couple super chats, and then we'll kind of move off the this particular point and get to the last point I want to discuss tonight. I think we're circling the drain here. Okay, so $5 from Deej Nuts. Thank you for the $5. Say Freedom Gang. Thank you.
Is that Deej?
Yeah, that is Deej Deej. See,
I
be a
love
better panelist and give
panel
me money,
participation in the
okay?
super chats always gets me.
It's
that's a good
fun.
one.
I know. I like it.
course
$5
you like it,
from
Vic.
Testicle Johnson to say woke moralists and activist judges get to try to trans our kids, but when patriots want to deport rapist gang members, all of a sudden it's a problem.
Is that a serious one? I can't tell.
I'll let you decide if Testicle Johnson gave me a serious super chat or not. You can decide.
I don't know.
Then $5 more from Deej Nuts to say give Wick money, based in true. Truest thing you said all night. And then $5 from Audacity to say, hey guys, I'm the president. No, I don't have any proof. Let me do president stuff though. Thank you for the $5.
I'll vote for him.
Okay, so obviously this has gotten to the immigrant. And $4 more from Audacity, keep getting that money in, to say if I wanted less people abusing asylum here, I would disincentivize the hordes by demonstration of will power to expedite their deportation. I guess the last question I have for all of you, and then we'll kind of end it there and get to closing statements and things like that. I think all of us, to various degrees, have at least admitted that they don't like everything Trump is doing with this, right? Is that a correct statement? Like, fair enough, yeah. What should Trump do if your goal is to, again, solve the immigration problem? What would you do instead to solve it? And why is your solution an actual solution as opposed to what Trump's doing? And we're going to start with Soy, and I want to hear everyone.
In my mind, am I trying to get Trump's goals done, or am I trying to solve?
Yeah,
the problem?
you are actively, honestly
well, then
wanting
I
to
reject
deport
this,
as
though,
many
'cause-
illegal, especially violent illegal immigrants as you possibly can.
Well, obviously, I wouldn't show up to courthouses to arrest them, because then you're definitely going to get fewer of these people. But I will refuse the hypothetical of aiding this incompetent, stupid administration. I have, aids of what I would do for immigration. I think we should provide easier paths to citizenship. I do think with a strong border.
Wait, you don't think we should deport violent criminals?
I didn't say that. I said I don't want to give
Well,
advice
that's
to
what
this
I'm asking.
incompetent.
That's my
Yeah, of course we should
hypothetical.
deport violent criminals. I'm just saying I don't want to give advice to the administration that's fucking it up in real time, you know, like they're doing a bad job. So I look, my position is I think there should be easier paths to citizenships because I just don't think it's practical to deport everyone, especially when their kids may or may not be legal citizens. And I think that, yeah, we shouldn't necessarily just open the border up and let everyone in. Maybe there should be more checks on the asylum process. I agree with Jonah. We need more judges to process and make sure that people are claiming asylum legitimately. I think people that come here like from India, like go like fly to Mexico from India, and they're just like, well, I just want to illegally get over the border. Yeah, I don't think you should be able to do that. I think they should, you know, crack down on that stuff. But right now, I just don't think that showing up to courthouses is the way we do that. So yeah, it's stupid.
Okay, Jonah, are you going to engage with my hypothetical, or are you going to also refuse it?
Yeah, it's a dumb hypothetical. Like, they're probably doing.
What is dumb about asking, hey, if you wanted to solve the immigration crisis and you wanted to deport violent criminals, how would you do it?
I would say,
Put yourself
Mexico,
in-
stop.
put yourself-
You're
doesn't
being
want
very
to.
bad, Mexico. Mexico, stop right now.
Put yourself in an authoritarian right-wing populist administration that's trying to like dominate the court system and like bend everyone to their will. I probably won't do that. Instead, I will say, yeah, we should make a legal pathway to citizenship. We should just like, I don't know why there was discussion 10 plus years ago about like DACA shit and like they never solved it. And those people should probably like immediately be citizens. And then literally, unlike what Deej said, as much money as it takes to get through the backlog of these cases, I am fine spending that money to get through that backlog, and it probably will even help their goal more than anything that they're doing will. When you like your super chat guy said, if you can say, hey, you know thousands or 100,000 or even millions of people who claimed asylum, it's very clear that you don't have a good case to asylum, and then we deport you. And that'd be a much better way if you're Donald Trump and you're trying to accomplish a lot of deportations, which I probably wouldn't want to do. That's about much better way to do that is like massively funding the system that can actually do that in a fair way and give people due process.
I will say I'm disappointed that both of you thought my hypothetical was dumb. I think that my hypothetical was a very pertinent question because I guess one of the problems I'm having with this conversation is I don't like what Trump is doing. I think what Trump is doing is wrong. I think he's going about this in a very, very dangerous way towards our checks and balances, towards our Constitution. But I am okay with deporting people who shouldn't be here. I think we should do that, but I think the way he's doing it is wrong. So my question is trying to elucidate that there is a better way to do it. It's not we don't do it at all or we do it Trump's way. And that's what I'm trying to get at is Trump is doing it wrong. But anyway,
so we're
go
saying,
ahead,
wait,
Deej.
hold on, wait,
do you want me to actually answer?
And I want to give
Hey,
Jordan.
you guys
wait,
lost
wait.
your chance.
No,
you
no, no,
lost
no,
your
no, no,
chance.
no,
You
no.
wanted
Wick,
to own the cons so
no,
bad.
Because
You
if Wick's just saying,
lost
hey,
it.
how do
Okay.
we get rid of more illegal immigrants that are committing like heinous violent crime? Like, one, no, don't go to the courthouses, which disincentivizes anyone from calling these people out. And two, yeah, maybe you have like some sort of like way to help these people in situations that feel stronger incentives to go and complain in the judicial system and get people that, you know, because illegal immigrants usually aren't just like, hey, it's this one illegal immigrant, we dropped him into the middle of San Francisco among all these citizens. It's in communities of other illegal immigrants. If those people feel empowered, that know that they're not just going to get instantly deported the instant they complain about some sort of violent crime, these criminals are going to get exposed and we're going to be able to get them out better. But that's like the whole debate, and I think that was kind of already displayed.
Okay,
If you wanted to
$5 from
keep
Mod asked me
following-
to say your hypothetical has been deported. Yeah, they deported it. They
Yeah.
wouldn't let it cross the border. They closed their borders to my question. But anyway, Deej, I wanted to give you the chance. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and this isn't necessarily actually advice to Trump, because Trump doesn't listen to advice from the people he needs to. First off, right, just using executive orders isn't going to solve the problem because continuing to polarize this issue, the next time there's a Democrat in office, you're going to have hordes of migrants coming to the border and then trying to enter illegally. And everything that you have done will just be washed away with a couple executive orders on day one of the new administration. As far as what actually needs to be solved, yeah, we could solve it by just hiring 1 million judges, right? We could throw a couple $1 trillion to expedite deportations, or we could make the process more efficient. Obviously, there are disagreements about how that should look, but the reality is that there has to be a solution to be able to systemize and expedite the process to deport people that doesn't just involve seeing a judge. 18% of people that claim asylum don't even show up to their court dates, regardless. So
What about like a wall
I
of
think that
judges,
the
like at the
solution
border?
is you work with Congress and you change the immigration laws so that you can filter out people before they have to see a judge. And I'm sorry if this comes off as harsh. We have no obligation to take you in except for what we have agreed to the UN, which is the first safe country principle. If you have to go through safe countries to get to us, we have no legal obligation to take you in, and anything we give you is out of the kindness of our hearts.
Well-
I would love to be able to make the whole world a rich place, but by so doing, we're only going to make ourselves more vulnerable.
Why stop there? Just say fuck you to the UN too. Like, it seems like you don't actually have a committed, like, principled position to caring about people on our borders. So why do you care about what a random UN agreement says? When Trump obviously
I'm
doesn't
not going to
care.
engage with that straw man. So
No, he's asking
You said this. You said because we have a UN agreement is the reason that we're taking from our neighbors directly and not from other places. And you said, sorry, we don't have an obligation to take you in besides that agreement. So why do you even
yes,
care
we
about
don't
that
have a
agreement?
legal obligation to. So anyone that we do take in is out of the kindness of our hearts.
Right, but
So why do you
think
care
we
about
should
following
be
that?
kind, or do you not care?
No,
Yeah.
I think that we should be kind, but we can't solve all of the world's problems.
We should be kind, but only to people on our borders for some reason. Why
When
is
you're
that?
on an airplane and the like the little things drop down, who are you supposed to put the mask on first if you have a child
The
next to
illegal
you?
immigrant.
Obviously.
Okay.
Again, I'm not engaging on this
That's
straw
fine.
man further.
Okay, I want to give it to Drone. What do you think, Drone? What should we do? Wow,
We can't hear you.
Can I hear a word you're saying?
Oh, sorry about that. I forgot.
Oh, it's okay.
Push talk. No matter what Trump does, I think it's the media and Democrats are going to treat it a certain way. They're going to be able to incite a lot of anger around the country, and at least half of it. And so he's pretty much just going for it. He's not worried about optics, which I think he should be. And while I understand why he's doing some of this stuff, I am also concerned about drifting into an authoritarian state. I think that our constitutional rights have been under attack for a long time. A lot of Americans don't even understand their constitutional rights. Some of them think it's a big joke or not even a real thing. And so I am hesitant to support this because it could easily happen to a U.S. citizen or any of us. It doesn't seem like it now, but it could. And so I kind of see both sides of it. I realize that, this situation didn't just start, and Trump, as far as he's concerned, was elected to deal with this. And I think that they're basically just cutting the red tape. For example, these violent criminals, he gets in office. It's like, why are these people still here? Why they should be gone. And so that's why he's done this. But obviously, if you do that, you risk catching innocent people up in it. And we can't do that, I don't think. I don't agree with that. And so what would I do? I would focus more on optics. I would stick to the Constitution and make it as hard as possible for any judge to use activism to stop you. And I think that when you do things like this, you do kind of open yourself up to opposition. And so you end up shooting yourself in the foot. And so that's what I would do. And like DJ said, Trump's not really used to listening to anybody. So we probably won't see that.
That's unfortunate. Okay, gang, this has been a riveting conversation that we've gone a little bit all over the place, but I think it was fun. It was interesting. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, me and Enemy Charlie are going to team up to react to the Ethan versus Hassan debate that's happening tomorrow, allegedly, at 12:30 PST, EST, I'm not sure. But anyway, at 6 p.m. Eastern, you can find our reaction to it. We will watch it together. And Enemy Charlie doesn't know much about the situation, so you'll get her fresh take from it. Should be fun. We're trying to bully SFO Dev to do it with us too, but we'll see if we can successfully do that. With that said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're going to give each of these lovely individuals, who I thank very much for joining me, an outro. I have links to all their stuff in my YouTube description. You can click on those links. You can give them a sub. You can give them a follow, whatever they want, right? And thank you. And I'll read your super chats after we do that. Let's go first to Jonah, and then we'll let Soy Pill have the last word. So we'll just go around like that. Go ahead, Jonah, and we'll just go around.
Whether or not you think she had the intent to shield this guy from custody, which is a very gray area. There are a number of legal issues that they have to prove before even getting to that. The intent behind what the administration did and are trying to do is incredibly clear. They expedited the process. They went around and did a different process than what people normally do to investigate judges' misdeeds. They posted about it on social media. Up until they did this, they've been talking every day about activist judges and impeaching the people who go against them. And so it's no wonder that once they do this, and they have clear intent behind doing this, that other people, other judges, are going to have a chilling effect on them to not want to engage in the same way with Trump administration cases. They are at minimum going to think twice about, can something bad happen to me and my family if I rule against them in this case? That's number one. And number two is the consequence of having more and more ICE agents and high publicized, high attention cases, when now witnesses, people who are harmed, say, for example, as I said in the debate, someone literally murdered one of your family members, but your entire family is illegal immigrants. You are not going to want to go be a witness in that case if it could risk you and all of your children, all of your family getting deported in that case. I think that's a disaster scenario that unfortunately probably happens all the time, will happen much, much more when people realize that ICE agents can show up in a courthouse and like arrest them, detain them. So I think even on a legal level, it's unclear. On a moral level, it's not unclear. It's incredibly bad that they did this.
Okay, thank you for being here, Jonah. I really appreciate you. Drone Tech. You're
Push to talk again.
yeah.
Drone Tech, we can't hear you.
Oh, Drone, you're muted. We can't
I
hear.
sort of agree with the chilling effect, but this is not new. We saw the media Democrats, Chuck Schumer, threatening SCOTUS judges for ruling the way they did, and so this is an escalatory sort of pattern that we're seeing. Although there was assassination attempts on those SCOTUS judges, so that was kind of more serious. But I sort of agree. But in this case, the judge might have actually broken the law, and so it doesn't really necessarily have anything to do with a decision made. If she hadn't have broken the law, then none of this would have happened. And so anyway, thanks for having me. And if you guys want to check me out on YouTube, I'm sort of a nostalgia critic, political guy.
Check him out, gang. Thank you for being here. We've tried to get you on before a couple times, and I'm glad it worked out this time. So thank you. Next up, Deej, go ahead.
Yeah. People only complain about the chilling effect when it's happening against their side. It's politics at the end of the day, even when it's being targeted at judges. I think that there's enough of a case to at least bring charges. Whether you you can debate about the optics of how it was done. I think in general, though, there's a common theme with this conversation, which is what is the solution other than just throw more money, right? Or kind of just like, well, it sucks to suck, figure it out. I think that the Democrats will continue to lose on this issue until they can come up with a proper solution that doesn't just require throwing trillions of dollars at the border. Obviously, people voted for Trump because of immigration. It was probably the biggest issue. And it's a general caution that I have for Democrats is figure out how to solve this permanently. Otherwise, you will continue to see it probably only get worse and worse as time goes on. You can find me on the YouTube channel Deej Nuts. I am planning on doing some game dev vlogs, but I am busy with my life and it is difficult to write up scripts. So,
Understood. Yeah. No, thank you for taking time out of your life to be with us. Appreciate you. Check him out, gang. Last but certainly not least, the propeller man himself, Soypill. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, we came in here with 3 main points. The first being that the arrest of Dugan is ambiguous at best, and the process was expedited. I don't think it is clear that she committed the crime, but it very well could be that she did. It's more about the fact that it is ambiguous, and the fact that they're making a show about this, leading to point 2, is a way to intimidate judges from defying them in ways both legal and illegal. So whether or not she did this illegally, up in the air. Whether or not this is absolutely going to have a chilling effect, I think Drone and Deej conceded that, yeah, it probably will. I have a problem with that. I don't want people to not be able to push back against the executive branch just because they're in fear that even though they have a completely legitimate case, they're worried that they're going to get arrested. And finally, I think we kind of demonstrated this, that ICE people showing up to the courthouse is bad for people that don't want those people to get deported and for people that want more deportations. Insofar as, yeah, this is an issue. I don't even know necessarily to what degree immigration is a crisis, and the degree that the right wing is even blowing it up. I mean, they talk about illegal immigrant crime, and it does happen, but it's like, hey, like it's as if these 11 million people are all setting that woman on fire in the subway when this is clearly not the case. I would say that, yeah, I would rather, you can talk about throwing money at it and how it's not good, but hey, that is how we solve problems. Right now, you can say, oh, well, the Trump admin got elected on immigration. Well, his solution was mass deportation, which is astronomically more expensive than hiring more judges and processing people. So good luck. You can find me at the Soy Pill. I'm happy to be here. And honestly, Deej and Drone, I think I respect you guys in the very least that you were able to see somewhat the degree of our arguments. You're pretty good faith about it. I thank you for that. And I think you're very close to being on our side too. In certain cases, I think you're upset with the same things that we're upset with. And once they become more obvious in the way that they're indicated to be, I think it's going to happen that way. So hopefully you'll come around. But anyway, type 1 to end the deep state. And there is a car fundraiser for Ukrainians in my stream description. So if you want to help support the war effort, please go check that out.
Okay, thanks again. Remember, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, it'll be fun. Check us out. And peace out, Girl Scouts. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. All right. That was much, 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 much better than that Andrew Wilson debate on 4 hours of sleep. So I'm happy that I did research for that and didn't agree to it 2 hours before it happened, and that my arguments were a lot more solid because I had a brain that worked. So that was a good way to come back into the debate sphere. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's do some housekeeping. What happened in my chat? I saw most of your chats. Toby the Robot, that was such a good one. The like hello Mexico. Yeah, we got a Manuel Hernandez here. What do we do? But thank you for the $10 super chat, Toby. If it comes up, Judge Dugan ruled against the Wisconsin Republican Party in a case trying to stop a voter outreach program. Wow, okay. Caption is a representative of the Party of Wisconsin. Oh, caption is Representative Party of Wisconsin versus City of Milwaukee. I'm not reading that serial number. Yeah, so clearly she is left-wing. Again, if it comes out that she absolutely tried to get this guy out, because it's believable to me. Okay, and she should be punished if she obstructed justice illegally. I don't like the chilling effect that this is happening, and they could have again gone through a formal process and said, hey, look, this person is not is committing a dereliction of duty. They're helping people escape when they shouldn't. They're interfering with federal investigations, and we filed this complaint, and I think they should be punished accordingly. Didn't happen that way. Fred Skull became a member again. Thanks, Fred Skull. I love it when they talk in abstract combat. Yeah, they were being very abstract for a lot of that, where it's just like, well, what if we just did this better and more efficient? And it was like, okay, great. What's your actual solution? And I really don't think they've thought these things through, which is why I was trying to be nice to them at the end. Because it wasn't like this bad faith, thing. It was like, I just don't think they get it. I think someone else became a member. Yeah, Affected. Thank you for becoming a member. Yeah, I'll chat with you guys for a little bit, and then I'm going to head out. Just real quick update on the video. So members have already seen it, because if you're a member or a patron, you can get it already early. Usually it's only a day or two early. Now it's a week early. Until this ad company approves my ad. I submitted the advertisement to them for approval. They said, can you change these two things? I immediately changed them, and now it has been 4 days since I've heard anything from them, and they are the bottleneck on my livelihood right now. I really don't like it. And this isn't talking shit about the company necessarily. I really wish they were more responsive. So I'm trying to reach out to them, but unfortunately I don't have a phone number. It's all online. So hopefully they'll get back to me soon. Thank you, Ryan. You said I did a good job. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. I'm going to meet Ryan in real life. So if you haven't already subscribed to him, please go do it. And we're going to hang out at VidCon. So if you guys are in LA and you want to do a fan meetup, too bad. That's weird. No, actually, if anything, I'd prefer to meet you guys in real life, because then it won't be weird that you're all just names on a screen. Yeah, that Andrew Wilson debate was so bad. Just seeing the first couple responses to the open panel, it was fun. It was just frustrating. It's I knew this was one of the reasons I was like, do I really want to debate this person? It's I'm not gonna have, this isn't gonna be a debate. It's gonna be quabbling over definitions. It's gonna be this dumb fucking, anyone who calls themselves a blood sports debater, I'm not gonna have a good time talking to them. This was at least I felt like I was having a conversation with a person. So, I think the argument is that this arrest may be retributive. Yeah, 100%. 100% it is. The Soy Pill, we need more interviews with Trump supporters. My favorite vids. Oh, thank you. What's a Trump event? So the Elon vid's going to have interviews with liberals, which are not nearly as funny because they don't say stupid shit. So not that they never say stupid shit, but just not nearly to the same quantity. And these people didn't. So we'll have interviews, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I have to go to another Trump event when I start making more money. I will like fly to like I really want to go to that like Taco Tuesday training thing that I saw during the election, but I'm sure they'll have something similar. I raised that mostly because it was a potential ulterior motive for going after her. Yeah, okay, Toby, I get it. Gotcha. Yeah, so like well maybe. I don't know if they went after her because of her being a liberal judge, but I think this is probably immigration. I would not expect the right wingers to have looked into the past to know that they don't like her. She ruled in a way against the admin that they didn't like. Yeah, no, I get it. Can we get your barely know her joke on video? Can we get it? I'm sure it's on there. What do you mean? Oh, just say it? Yeah, like due process. I hardly know her. Oh God! Congrats on debating the Doug Walker of politics. That's such a weird moniker, the nostalgia critic for politics. Because I like Doug Walker. I'm entertained by his critique. I don't agree with him, but you know, there's a reason he's been around so long. But yeah, it's such a weird. I would never call myself the Doug Walker of politics. So because you know I didn't make the wall. Hypertellerism. What is hypertellerism? So they talked a lot about flawed asylum system. Why did they never suggest reform? Oh, they suggested reforming it to a degree, but like that wasn't even part of the debate. That was just like their fallback. And notice they didn't contest any of the three things we came there to talk about, which is, hey, this is ambiguous. Hey, this is a chilling effect. And hey, this is going to disincentivize people from showing up to courts, which is like, wow, it wasn't even a debate. Like they just kind of conceded to all of those things. So cool. Sponsors ruin it. Oh, they didn't ruin the video. In fact, I have made it my mission, and JJ McCullough says I won't do this, but I've made it my mission to make sure that every ad is at least entertaining enough not to skip. And this, I promise this next one is. And even the members haven't seen this one yet, because it's not in there. I don't put the ad in for them. One, because it's illegal, and two, because you're a member. Why should you have to watch another ad? But if you want to watch it, it'll be on the public video. Does he talk? Yeah, he must talk about movies. That's probably why he said that. I worked out during this debate. Will it make me a soy chad? Only if you eat 1 gram of protein per desired body weight pound, and you worked out well, or if you follow my workout video. It's very clearly a test case. More judges to come soon. Yeah, 100%. Because you look at what they're doing with Kilmar Garcia, and it's like, yeah, like okay, at the very least, this is one where like, even though I don't agree with it, you're making me defend potentially an MS gang member or someone who committed a crime if it was a judge who committed the crime. But like, this is them pushing the envelope. And like, that's why you see them come out with this defense that is totally an appeal to emotion, which is, hey, yeah, I know I violated this due process, but oh, Democrats are defending a bad person. He beat his wife. And it's like, I don't care if he beat his wife or not, he should get due process. Okay. And they're deflecting from that all the time. Yeah, we should reform this, but expect it not to cost money. Exactly. Hypertellerism is a medical term for having widely spaced eyes that are often caused by birth defects. Do I have that? Do I have widely spaced eyes? Are you calling me out? Take off your shirt during debates to intimidate. I don't know if that breaks terms of service. Is the workout vid on no, the workout vid is not on Patreon. So again, I said I was going to make the Freedom Tunes vid next, but actually, guys, it's going to be one of 3 videos because I'm writing 3 at the same time because this came up. And one is auditing an inconvenient truth because I'm interested to see how much Al Gore got wrong. And so far, spoilers, not a lot, if not anything. I think people really exaggerate it. 2 would be the Freedom Tunes video, and 3 would be a video on the Fine People hoax. So we'll see. I think I might do the Fine People one first. Yes, Ryan, I did see that Trump literally thought that the MS-13 that they, photoshopped on there to describe the symbols was real, and that was the tattoo. That was so stupid. And people came out trying to defend that. Like, he doesn't actually think those are there. It's like, no, he literally thinks the letters and numbers are on his knuckles. It's actually stupid. Embarrassing president. Just joined 2-hour-long debate. Congrats on the energy. Keep fighting. What, you've never seen my 6-hour-long gender debates? But thank you. Every time I argue about the Garcia fellow with my conservative associates, they call him the Maryland man who beats his wife. Very frustrating. I'm not defending the man. I'm arguing against abusive rights. Yeah, Connor, you just have to come out and be like, look, I'm not saying this is a good person. I'm saying that we need to have process as we get these people out of the country, or if they should be leaving the country. And that's why the admin said, it was an administrative error because they weren't allowed to deport him to El Salvador. They were legally allowed to deport him anywhere else. So it's like, hey, we should check these things before we do that. It doesn't matter if they're a criminal. It doesn't matter if they're a good person. I don't know why that's so hard. Yeah, he's always joking until he's not, obviously. First debate in the last few where I didn't suffer, not your fault. Yeah. Glad you had a more productive time. Well, it was more productive because like the facts were just like pretty on our side in this one. It wasn't even like I don't like saying that at the beginning of a debate, like, oh, how could you possibly disagree? But it's like, look, I'm willing to hear you out, but I really don't see how this is a good thing. I couldn't believe he read it. Yeah, I'll read your chats. He should wear glasses. Are you talking to me, Keo? I should wear glasses because my hypertelorism makes my eyes too far apart? I don't think so. I think I have normal. You know what? Actually, it's funny you say that, Keo, because the friend that I'm going to hang out with tomorrow, he used to call me a fish. He said, you look like a fish. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And maybe it's because of the eyes. Maybe that's what he meant. Maybe I have hypertelorism. I don't know. Maybe my mom drank too much while I was in the womb. Who knows? My parents are saying because illegals are not citizens, they should have no right to due process. Yeah, okay, well, that's stupid. But that's the thing, is so many people just agree with that. Like, unironically, I think there is a non-zero, like maybe not a majority, but a good percentage of right-wingers who would just say, look, if you catch an illegal immigrant, you should just be able to gun them down. Or like, we should just gun people down, like at the border. I truly believe that they think that. They're like, well, you broke the law, you should die. Like, because they believe, like, just kill everyone. And like, there's a principled understanding of certain violent crimes maybe should be punishable by death. I understand why some people support the death penalty, but they never operate in the reality of, okay, well, now that this is punishable by death, are people going to show up to court? Are people who think they're going to get arrested for this going to fight to the death rather than get killed in prison? Like, it's just practically not a good thing, I think. The conservative line seems to be, I don't care if it was illegal because I don't care about this person's plight. Yeah, that's why I kept going back to it. Why is there a problem at all? Oh, so you weren't joking? Or you were joking, Keo? Do I have hypertelorism? I missed the epic intros. Yeah, no, I'm doing another tomato debate on the 15th, I believe, so we'll get more epic intros. Oh, by the way, guys, this is not a shill. Jonah works for Progressive Victory. It is a PAC that, if you may or may not know, if you guys have watched Vosh or Destiny, helped coordinate the like door-to-door campaigning stuff for Warnock and Ossoff in that 2020 Senate race, which is awesome. I think what he's doing is amazing. I know I like your money, and I know you should also donate to the Ukraine thing. However, if you have more money to give, I would suggest giving it or becoming a member for Progressive Victory, and I think I will try to work with them in the future, see what I can do to actually make a material difference that is not just talking to you through a screen, which I do also enjoy, but I think there's better things we could do. And maybe that will be the fan meetup, is when we all go door knocking for AOC or whatever happens. I think you're pretty, Soy. Don't take it to heart. Don't take it to heart that you think I'm pretty. Hey, Fisher, there's some handsome pretties, but thank you. Thank you, Cesar, for calling me handsome. Your parents haven't read the Constitution. Okay, that's to someone else. My parents have probably not read the Constitution, to be fair. And I have a pocket copy I could lend them, but they won't read it. I'm never going to be able to see anything other than a fish when I look at Soy now. Aw. Well, I should really, like, dig into that. I'm glad I'm like not insecure about these things anymore. Like, if everyone just calls me like an ugly fish from now on, I'll just be able to laugh. Look up pseudostrabismus. I think that's closer. Oh God, are we looking up what awful condition I have? I don't know why I said pseudo. Pseudostrabismus. What do I got? I don't think I have this. I guess all the examples in this case are Asian though. So maybe it's just because I don't look Asian. Look, I think I am on the spectrum of normal eyes, all right? But if you want to say that. It's generally very hard to speak to anyone around me where I live. They all have sorts of good relationships with these same undocumented people too, but they love Trump. I mean, look, there's a bunch of undocumented people that like support Trump sometimes I've met. So yeah, you do your best. Now that he mentions it, you do look like a fish. No offense. Oh no. Okay, well, I'm meeting him tomorrow for him and his girlfriend's birthday stuff. So I will let him know that all those years he called me a fish, completely vindicated. I'm glad that you guys agree with him. But like a cool fish, a sturgeon. Look, guys, can you just go back to thirst trapping me? Now everyone's calling me a fish. Go back to being thirsty. You're all gay fish. I was really expecting Drone to say Asylum should be done away with. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think these people were a little more reasonable. They weren't like crazy insane. The soy pill has been selling us fish oil this whole time. Guys, I do take fish oil every day. Maybe that's why I look like this. Soy do trap bismuth. 1, Streisand effect. Look into this though. When you do, you'll see the mistake you made in mentioning the comment I had. Oh no, yeah, this is gonna be the meme now. Everyone's gonna call me a gay fish from now on. All my enemies, as if I'm not like laughing about the concept of it right now. Like if I like shut up and didn't read the comment, that was when it would come through. But that's like when they called me gay Inspector Gadget, which 1, Inspector Gadget, it's right there, guys. Come on. But 2, like that's kind of funny because I'm wearing this stupid propeller hat. But like I put this on. You think you're bullying me for this stupid hat I'm wearing? Like it's the whole point. I am on the spectrum, Connor. E621 moment. What's that? E621. Is that the Sonic guy? I have no idea what that is. A gay fish, new fan base name? No, you're still little soybeans. If you think about it for a second, soy is a fish. Cladistically speaking. I do want you to know your favorite fish ranked by cuteness and quality and taste. I don't know if I have a favorite fish. Oh, you know what? I like those little ones. Those little, I don't know what they're called, but they always look like they're smiling in aquariums. We're thirsting because you're taking all the water, you fish. Fur affinity video. Never? I don't know. Don't what? That guy could not stand your hat. It was so fucking funny. Yes, indeed. The fish era begins. Handsome muscle fish era. Inspector Gadget is goated, backhanded compliment if you think about it. Go Gadget sodomy is what I should have said. The real joke is that they think that Inspector Gadget isn't already gay. Isn't he not? Doesn't he have a girlfriend in the second movie that is also an Inspector Gadget? I'm not the only one who gets disappointed when people miss obvious wordplay. Yeah, come on, guys. Well, they're not smart. They're bad at jokes. Oh my god, that guy who came in and was like, look at me, I'm Chris Hansen. That was so bad because I was like, are you trying to get me to like be upset that I agreed to this hypothetical? Like, I'll keep agreeing to it. It was so stupid. Of course, look, if I'm not one of those fuckers who's gonna ban you for calling me a fish person. Now, if you guys are constantly spamming it, I might be like, guys, come on, stop. But like, it doesn't bother me. Now, when you guys figure out my real insecurities, that's when it's bad. That's why I'm red herring you guys. I'm throwing out these fake insecurities so you'll harp on them. I'm like, oh, I'm so short, or oh, I'm not muscly enough, or oh, I look like a fish, and then you're gonna hit me with the is Soy's tooth slightly crooked, and it's gonna be like the real one, and I'm just gonna be devastated, and I'll never stream again. The soy pill is the key to becoming Shai-Halud. How am I the key? I don't have any spice. I don't poop the spice. I don't remember the name of the game, but there was a game where you play as the president and you have to like learn the history of the world. That does sound a lot of fun, King Pies. Red herring. He's leaning into the fish pit. Damn it. Oh, I didn't even see. That was me. I missed that one. That's hilarious. What if I said you were too muscly? You're saying I'm too big? I would probably go do push-ups to try to lose weight. Uncle Gadget is not gay. He's bi. I won't put up with the bi erasure. Okay. Omega-3 is a pretty crucial for brain development in the womb and early childhood. So maybe my mom took many omega-3 supplements and that made me look more fishy. Misaligned facial hair? Is it? I think it's just the lighting. I mean, even if I did, I used to have like way worse. Like it's pretty even now, but yeah. His real insecurity that he's living in a padded room. That's why everything is like it's not an insecurity, but it's a very real character flaw is that I'm bad at decorating. So yeah, I gotta date like an interior decorator or something. Maybe so. I was wanting to change the topic away from the fish stuff. Well, you know, like it's okay, Kyo. I accept your fish moniker. As long as it's not Hexest booze fueled uneven. Yeah, like one sideburn. All right, guys. So yeah, like I said, I'm sorry the Elon video is not out yet. It's not really up to me at this moment. In fact, let me check. Do I have an email? Ooh. Okay, I can't read this to you, but I have an update. Wow. It might not come out till next week. That's really annoying. I'm not going to throw away that advertiser money just so you can see it earlier, but that really sucks. I wish it wasn't taking so long. Sorry, guys. But in the meantime, I am working. That means there's going to be a shorter time in between this and the next video. So that Trump hoax video will come out. And there's also a sponsor on that one. I hope they respond faster. And like I said, the Freedom Tunes one, guys, I might not even make it. I don't hate him enough. It's not annoying. The passion's not there. I'm just kind of annoyed by watching his cartoons. But he's like a good comedian in a lot of capacity. He makes some good good comedy moments. It's the politics behind them that sucks. And I could talk about that, and I could make that video, but right now I'm not feeling it. I think I hated too much in that Elon video, and it really burned me out. So it will probably happen at some point because you guys have been asking for it. Otherwise, the workout video is the next one after that. So thanks, guys, for watching. Type Lambda and the Deep State. Have a wonderful weekend, and look for more material things in the future. Big things are happening, and I'm happy about it. And it's in no small part thanks to all of you. So have a wonderful night. Fish swimming off.